Everyone, welcome to another live episode of the Outlaw Nation Show here at the Outlaw Nation Studios. I'm excited to be here tonight with one of my favorite people that I have gotten to know in this sphere. You know, I say that about only 3 or 4 or 5 people in this sphere because you just we just kind of vibe with certain people. You just kind of connect with certain people right off the bat, and you kind of immediately become friends with them, and you cherish their opinion, you cherish the things they're creating, and you cherish their energy, man. And for so many reasons, maybe because he served in the military, maybe because he's a fellow Star Trek nerd, or maybe because he's just into all things geek, or he's just a genuinely awesome person. I connected really quickly with this gentleman here, and I'm so excited to welcome him to the Outlaw Nation Show. Jason's been on a number of my shows, but this is the Outlaw Nation Show, and I have to welcome him. Jason Inman, welcome. How are you, my man?
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here, and what a great intro. But I had to give you crap because you were like, he's one of my favorite 3, 5, maybe 50.
Well, I mean, 5 out of so many people that you meet in this sphere is pretty good, I think.
That's how you do a great job covering your base as a host. You just cover. You're like, I like most people on the Western Seaboard.
But this guy, I really like this guy. Normally I do a solo intro, but to be honest with you, I just wanted to start this thing with Jason because I haven't seen Jason in quite some time. You know, one of the unfortunate side effects of COVID is also the COVID situation is also that you don't get to see your friends as often as you normally do, or pass in the night with them, or run into them out and about in certain areas. And Jason was someone I haven't seen in quite some time, and Jason's got the hair going big time right now. Show the people how long that thing is. Look at that.
This is my pandemic hair. Look at this. Look at this. It has not been this long since I grew it out when I actually got out of the military.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is the longest it's been in maybe a decade. But this is also my I don't care. I don't think it's safe enough to get a haircut right now.
That's fair.
Wear your damn mask, you idiots.
Oh, it's a good point. Very good point. We'll start there. Absolutely. I've been driving down to Fountain Valley to get my haircut at this salon because they have like all these rules and regulations that they do. So I just randomly read about them in the LA Times, called the dude up, and now I go there every 3 weeks to get my haircut because I got to get it cut because, doing crazy things on the camera.
I just think like I'm just not going to get it cut until we are past like somewhere when the world is going back to normalcy. Like that'll be my nice get rid of it. Yeah.
I like it though. Like if you add a flannel shirt, you're back in the 90s, dude, with that long hair.
It's so funny. When I got out of the army, I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I just started growing my hair out long like this. And I read in the local paper that there was going to be auditions for The Crucible.
Oh,
and my hair was a little bit shorter than this, and I was like, you know what? I bet I up my chances to be John Proctor if my hair is long. And you know what? I got cast in the part. So
wow, smart move, man. Smart move. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with my man Jason Inman, he is the former host of DC All Access. He did that for 3 years. He's the writer of this book here. Fantastic book called Super Soldiers, which I've enjoyed revisiting quite a number of times since I got it. And Jason was on one of my shows in the past, I think the Deep Cut, talking about this book when it first came out. Are you doing a compendium of Jupiter Jet? What is it you're working on now that's available on Amazon? What is that?
So right now for pre-order is the second volume in the Jupiter Jet comic book series. We did Jupiter Jet Volume 1 in 2017, and now the sequel, Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio, is going to be published on October 7th. So we put it like a fun title on it, like Indiana Jones, because I'm very particular about titles.
Yeah.
And I think it's lazy when movies are like, it's just Iron Man 2. And I'm like, no. Put a colon and give us a subtitle, put some flavor on it.
Put some stank on it. Yeah. Put some stank on it and make it exciting or attractive for people to get. Certainly. And when did that start? When did that start happening? When is that coming out? When is that? What's the pre-order? When is that officially going to be out?
Well, it's available for pre-order right now.
Is this it right here? This is it.
This is Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio. It's a great cover by John Boyd Myers. The regular art is inside by Ben Matsuya. It's co-written by Ashley Victoria Robinson, myself. Yes. It's coming out from Action Lab Entertainment. You can final order cutoff is Monday, which is September 14th. So go in your local comic book shop and pre-order this book. You don't need to read volume 1. It is done in one, but if you've read volume 1, it has a lot of interesting flavors. It's basically, think Men in Black meets The Rocketeer. It is a 17-year-old girl. She's now 17 with a jetpack and a ray gun, and she's fighting robots and villains in space. And she thinks that she knows how to be the ultimate superhero. But when she goes out into space, she meets this character called the Black Flyer, who also has a jetpack. And she gets her butt kicked, and she quickly learns that she doesn't know everything about being a superhero that she thought she did. So, and you're showing like a bunch of stuff. Like we got some great quotes by Mark Russell, who wrote the Flintstones and Wonder Twins. Ron Mars, who wrote Green Lantern, gave us a quote. He said he enjoyed the book. So, again, go pre-order the book. If you know anything about books, pre-ordering is very important. But if you like action, you like adventure, you like steampunk retro stuff, you're going to love Jupiter Jet. And it's all ages. And when we say that, we don't mean it's all ages as in like it talks down to adults. Right. It's all ages that like anybody can enjoy it. Your 80-year-old grandma can join it, and your 8-year-old child can enjoy it. It's like the Pixar model. It's perfect for everybody. And Jupiter Jet Volume 1 was nominated for the best kids comic of 2018. So we're upwards and onwards, you know.
Yeah, didn't you get nominated for writing it? What was it, the Ringo? What was it, the award did you get?
Yeah, we got the Ringo Awards, and we just got nominated again for the Ringo Awards just a couple weeks ago for our second book, Science, the Elements of Dark Energy. That got nominated for Best Kids Comic of 2019.
That's awesome.
So we're hoping this one is Best Kids Comic of 2020. We can make the trifecta.
Why not? Why not? We're going to have your Streamlabs super chats. All of that is open. Please send in your questions and your comments for Jason Inman as we go through the first hour here. And then later on, some of you will be allowed to come in live. My $10 patrons and above will get the first dibs to ask us questions live. And then later on, other people will get to come in live. But, really want to kind of front load the first hour and 20 or hour and 15 with some Streamlabs and Super Chats. Kind of keep supporting the Outlaw Nation, keep supporting the ability to bring on guests like Jason Inman onto the show. We got one from Chris Taylor. Says, Jason, I enjoyed your Arrow reviews. Your thoughts on the final season and the series finale. Did you keep up with it? Do you have thoughts on this?
I did keep up on it, man, because Arrow is my OG. I fell in love with that series. So, when they announced they only had one more season, even though we stopped doing the reviews, I was like, there's only 10 episodes left, and then there's Crisis. I'm going to write this out.
Why not?
I'm going to be honest with this.
Right. Please.
Arrow really should have ended at season 5. Because the season 5 finale is just like perfection. It is like the perfect finale for that show. And then the show went on 3 more years, and there's some good stuff in there. But when you look at the previous 5 years, you're kind of like, that's where it should have ended. I kind of view the Arrow series finale as Crisis on Infinite Earths. I really don't think it's that episode that they made that was after that. I kind of felt Crisis on Infinite Earths was like the perfect out for Oliver Queen, and everything past that just didn't quite work.
Right. So you're saying now, was the Ra's al Ghul season 5? When was the Ra's al Ghul situation?
Ra's al Ghul was
fight on the cliff.
3.
Okay.
That was season 3. Season 4 was Damien Dark. Season 5 was Prometheus. That was where it was like the other evil archer. Okay. Who it was the whole season was like designed around like, this is what you've done for the last 5 years, and I'm going to throw it back in your face and show you how you've done it wrong.
Wow. And
then it ended just where the series began, back on the island.
Huh. So it would have been a nice bookend to the whole situation.
It was a very nice bookend.
Okay. All right. Some people agreeing with you in the chat for sure. We got about 80 of you all watching us live. Thank you so much. Starting off, please do us a favor and hit that like button as well. It takes you about 3 seconds to swing that cursor over and hit that thumbs up button and give us some love here. Jason, I want to ask you now, you've made some interesting changes in your career. You were a host for a little while, kind of got into that totally randomly, got into the DCL Access situation.
100% random, dude.
Yeah. And now you've kind of gravitated to these other areas of your world. The GHL podcast, you still got that thing going strong. I don't know if there was like conversations. I thought I remember you having conversations that you might shut it down or you might give it a hiatus or a little bit of a break. But have you kind of found new life with the podcast, new joy with the podcast? Because you're not necessarily doing a lot of shows anymore where you're talking about superheroes or hosting this content. You're actually writing about it now as opposed to being on these shows. Do you get your fix from being on the podcast now with Ashley?
I've always liked doing Geek History Lesson, which was part of the reason why we kept it going on.
Yeah.
We almost stopped it a couple years ago simply because of financials. Like,
yeah, I thought I remember that.
Yeah. But luckily, the greatest thing about it is that we kind of told the fans. We literally were just up on Front Street with our fans, and we said, "Hey, right now our financials are telling us we don't have the time to do this podcast, and the only way we can do this podcast is if the Patreon reaches this level." And within a month, it reached that level. So we were just like, "Well, the podcast is not going anywhere," and that was 2 years ago, and we're still going strong. So I always appreciate. Awesome. The students of the Mind University, that's what we call the listeners of because it's about learning and everything like that. So I always appreciate them for doing that. It's interesting doing it now because we actually did, to help promote the book, we actually did a Geek History lesson on Jupiter Jet. And it was very interesting to kind of talk about a character that you created or co-created. Right. You were just like, oh, this is very odd. I will say too, I always came out here to LA to be a television writer, and it's just like I fell into YouTube and I fell into editing, and I always very much like the statement from Serenity, the leaf on the wind. I was always like, well, if somebody's going to pay me to do this, I'm not going to say no to it, because I don't know when the next paycheck's coming. Right. And the last 2 years being like mainly in writing is really, really changed my perspective on a lot of stuff, because it's really hard to make a television show or a movie or a book or a comic, or a podcast or a YouTube show. It is, well, I knew all that stuff before, but like, it is really difficult. So I tend to be more focused with my criticism if I can, instead of just being like, yeah, it sucked, or I don't want to watch it. I try to be like, well, this part of it didn't work, but I applaud that they made it.
Yeah, it's very interesting when people who are on the outside, who've never actually created something or been on the inner workings of it, it's amazing once they do and then come out of it, how different their analysis and their criticism of a situation is. I was talking to Sasha Pearl Raver the other day. She's got a couple of projects that she's writing, and she says she watches some of her criticisms of other things way like a couple of years ago on YouTube, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about. And go like, wow, because she has been through the grind of trying to create something. Yeah. And in her mind, it's like, it's a completely different point of view to have about a different place to come from in terms of analyzing a piece of media.
Well, since the last 2 years, I've been working on television shows and stuff like that, and like sitting in writers' rooms and things like that. And I will tell you, your perspective on like a Netflix show or a streaming show, and like the 10 episodes and the 13 episodes, and you're like, what? Why do they do that? It completely changes, because like now I'm just like, well, man, I know that, like, because I've been there. You've figured out episode 1, 2, and 3, and then you're just like, I don't know what to do after episode 4. Maybe the grandma shows up, because you're just trying to fill time. So you got 10 hours.
Let's give him a kid. Let's give him a cute kid. I don't know.
Put the dog in this one. I don't know. So like I give a lot of forgiveness a lot of times in some of those Netflix stuff where I'm just like, you know what, there is no bad episode, because you know what, I've been there.
Someone's asking in the chat. I was going to ask you this myself, dude. Have you been working out? Have you lost weight? You look slimmed down. You look trim. Is this the camera angle? What's going on here?
I've lost 14 pounds since the pandemic began. Yeah.
Just eating and working out, or has it been a concerted effort, or what's been?
A lot of it was just watching what I eat. A lot more. This is another thing. This is another pulling back the curtain of working in a television writer's room. Crafty as hell.
Crafty's murder.
Yeah, there's snacks and cookies and bullshit there all the time. Oh yeah. We have a writer on my current show, and I was so glad we got out of the office, where he was always like buying Kit Kats. He was like, buy me Kit Kats, put Kit Kats in that kitchen. And like, I'm telling you, man, when you see those Kit Kats, you walk past the break room, you're just like, I'm gonna have a Kit Kat. Yeah, sure.
But it just adds up.
Yeah, it adds up. So like not doing a lot of that. And I've been doing a lot of P90X and running. So
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I have the time. I don't have a 2-hour commute anymore. And I had a 2-hour commute, there and back, 1 hour there and 1 hour back, LA. So
I
was driving to our offices were like near where you live, John. That's a hell of a drive.
Yeah. We're at now in Beverly Hills. I mean, and we're about to take a move to San Diego, man. We've been going down the last couple of weeks to look at places in San Diego. Yeah, because this COVID, I'm able to do all my podcasts and all my shows from the comfort of my studio. So why do I need to be here in the grind of LA when I can just be down in San Diego, more relaxed, get more bang for my buck, get more space for my buck down there than here? And my girlfriend's job is also transportable or transmutable to another location. So for us, we were like, well, look, we're at that place where we just don't want to be around the grind anymore. So we're making that move, and just like you, cutting the cost down of driving, cutting all that down just to be down there and hang out and do whatever. And if I have to occasionally come up to LA for a meeting or for an audition or for a hosting situation, I'll do that, but there's no real rush. I mean, Top 10 and Cinephiles haven't missed a beat. We've been recording virtually the whole time, and it hasn't missed a beat. So
that's great
for me. This is the life that I like. You know what I'm saying? I don't like being in the car that much, and it's too exhausting.
Oh yeah, that's another thing, man. Like I've been with not having this commute. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I've been able to I'm like, oh yeah, I suddenly have 2 hours in my day that I never had before.
Right.
So I've been dabbling in meditation and stuff like that, and
it's good.
Yeah. Well, man, especially for writing, you gotta do anything you can to sort of fill up the well.
Yeah.
And I find that meditation really helps with that.
Yeah. Yeah, you've done as we were saying this a little bit ago, you've done, like you said, you've been in the wind. Yeah, you were you were producing stuff over at Screen Junkies, then you were hosting the DCL Access show, and then moving into other areas with the podcast, and then you got onto a CBS show just as you were about to be part of the Horsemen. You got a CBS show and rolled into that, and no one can fault you for taking a chance on that, for God's sakes.
Look, I begged Christian Harloff for 6 months to put me in a faction because I was unemployed and had nothing going on.
That's right.
And then the minute he decides to do something, I got a full-time job. And that's his problem.
I was so mad because I was like, no, Jason Inman, being in a faction with Jason Inman. I fought so hard to make Jason a part of that faction and then have him go. But then you're like, he didn't come out here to be a horseman or to be part of the Schmoedown. He came out here to be a TV writer. And when the opportunity presents itself to be a script coordinator for that show, CBS, was it the unit? I'm sorry.
It was the Code.
The Code.
Yep.
And you were, say it again, you were a script consultant?
I was the showrunner's assistant.
On the show, the Code there. And now you've worked your way up to another position. I don't know how much you can say about it, but it's something that I'm excited for you doing. And I'm not going to give away anything either, but I'm excited that you're a part of this project.
I'm excited when I can finally announce what it is, but here's the weird thing. I've been working on this show for over a year.
Wow.
A year. I started on this new show October because the Code was canceled in, I think, June or July of last year. Wow. And then on August of last year, I got in the new show. So I had one month down, got on the new show. I've been on that show for almost an entire year, since August 2019. Still have not been able to say what it is because we are covered under huge NDAs.
I'm sure.
But I will say that certain people in interviews have left breadcrumbs out there. So you can put it together if you have the math, but I cannot say officially anything about it until hopefully.
Okay.
I don't know. I was hoping Comic-Con was going to be where they might finally announce it, and then Comic-Con didn't happen.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And we're still waiting for things to slowly get back to normal, and a piece of me and we're starting to see the non-mask wearers get louder and louder in this situation, which is scaring me because people are starting to feel too comfortable. So I hope we don't get too comfortable and then another wave comes through and then we're all back in our houses again, or worse, and that's what you want to hope doesn't happen. Well, I mean, today let's move into this situation, Jason.
Sure.
Today is Star Trek Day, so I thought it was. I didn't even know it was happening until halfway through the day, and I'm like, what a perfect situation to have my man Jason Inman on Star Trek Day on the Outlaw Nation Show. We're both huge Star Trek people, and I guess I just want to ask you, what was your first experience with Star Trek? And maybe you've told this story before, but I've never heard it. So I'd like to ask you, what was your first experience with Star Trek, my man?
So the first Star Trek episode I ever watched was Encounter at Farpoint, the premiere episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I saw it the premiere weekend in 1987. And the reason why I watched it is because I was a little kid, and on our local news station, whatever station was broadcasting it, did a news story on it. And my parents were like, they're not sci-fi people; they are very much, cop, robber, lawyer people shows.
Law and order people,
but they saw the news and they were like, oh, maybe we should check this out. So at 6:30 p.m. on a Saturday night on KSN, that's KSN 16, if Southeast Kansas, Joplin, Missouri station, if you guys know that, I don't know, hope there's somebody out there. 6:30 Saturday, they broadcast Encounter at Farpoint, and about a half hour in, I was in like Flynn, and my parents were already out. They were just like, we're done. And I was like, and look, I admit that it's a terrible episode. It does not hold up. But, I just like watched TNG every day from every Saturday at 6:30, and then D Space Nine and Voyager, and then Enterprise. I didn't get to watch as much because that's when I was in the Army, and it was really hard when I deployed and stuff like that. But I followed up as much of it. But Star Trek has always been my favorite franchise. And here's this cool thing right here on this desk. I'm going to show you how cool it is.
Okay.
The first year of Star Trek, I was such a huge fan, and Playmates and whatever made all these stupid, really terrible toys for the Next Generation first season, the Gloob toys. But one of the coolest things they made was a metal Enterprise D, and I would fly that thing around, and we had a big square of concrete in the backyard, and I would drop it all the time. So one of the nacelles got bent. I still have it. It sits on my desk.
Oh,
this is it right here. If you listen. Hear that thing? But you can see, see how bent that one is?
That's hilarious.
But it's worn off. I'll never buy a new one, but like this is, my grandmother gave this to me when I was very little, and I've always kept it ever since then.
That is fantastic, man. What was it about that show? And that, because I mean, that first season is a bit of a struggle. Picard's kind of a jerk initially, and then he kind of warms up as the season goes along.
He is a big jerk in the first season.
Right. In the second season, he kind of hits his stride. They understand what works.
Yeah, Riker gets better when he gets a beard.
Exactly. It's kind of like Parks and Rec. Like that first season, you could kind of skip that first season and pick up in the second season and be fine. With TNG though, what was it that kept you coming back? Was this the idea? Did it awaken something in you, like this idea of what's out there in the stars, this idea of what's possible, this idea of humanity coming together to have a brighter world? Like, what is it that really kind of hooked you into this franchise?
I mean, I think that was totally it. I mean, it's the whole reason why it's very similar to the reason why I fell in love with comic books, was because you got to realize I'm this little kid, growing up on this farm in the middle of nowhere, literally the middle of nowhere. Like the closest airport is 2.5 hours away.
Wow.
I am in middle of nowhere farm country, and like that is all anybody around us does. That all they do is farm.
Right.
And I see this show that is about, it doesn't matter what planet you're from or what you look like, or even if you're human.
Yeah.
You can like get on the coolest ship and fly across the galaxy, and we're going to figure stuff out. And you're just going to say like, that's amazing. Like to me, that was like catnip. Yeah. And that's why like when I was a kid, I loved science fiction more than anything else. But that's another thing. Also, like, I mean, I joke about this in a lot of places, but like I grew up super poor. I grew up in a trailer house, my friend.
Oh, I get it, brother.
Very, very. So like to me, the idea of a post-capitalism economy in the future, very appealing.
If this thing keeps going, we might be in that place, my man. I mean, it's kind of scary to think about, but I agree with you. I'm in the same boat with you, man. We didn't have much. My parents were immigrants to this country. We didn't have a car for the first 2 years that I was alive, but TV shows are what kind of showed me a world that was possible out there, or showed me what was, and I know the original series for me was what kind of hooked me into Star Trek, because I'm a little bit older than Jason. It's what got me into it, is seeing what these people were trying to navigate, negotiate, and understand. But the overall point was that so everybody could get along. That Frank Gorshin episode with the black on one side, the white on the other. It was a bit on the nose, but at the time it was pretty groundbreaking to basically have a show that dealt with racism as obviously as that show did. You had interracial kiss on that original series. So you go into the next generation. It's like, well, how do you follow that up? And you have a completely different set of storylines and characters to enjoy that expand the world and expand the conversation of what's happening for at that time, what the conversations that are happening at that time, nuclear war, this idea of, Q, all what Q's are, the Borg, this idea of being assimilated into essentially a dictator-like collective where you are all you are not individuals, you're all numbers in a chain focused on one goal. It was so interesting to see how TNG took the idea of Roddenberry in terms of his approach to social issues and kind of expanded it into that world.
Well, that's a great thing too. Like Star Trek, I find every time Star Trek gets lost or I feel like wanders away from the spirit of Star Trek, it's when they forget two things. They forget the idea is that every Star Trek story is a morality tale.
Yeah.
Star Trek is closer to the Twilight Zone than it is Star Wars. Seriously.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
Twilight Zone episode is a morality tale, and that's what the original series is about. So every Star Trek episode has to have some sort of lesson. And then the other thing that I think Star Trek does really well, and it's the strength of its entire franchise, is that it is about, in a micro level and a macro level, family. And by that, I mean, you have a crew of 7 people. You have a Russian guy. You have a cowboy. You have an old country doctor. You have an alien who nobody really quite likes, but sort of hangs around. You have a drunk Scottish guy. You have an African woman. You have a Japanese man. And at the end of the day, they're all from different backgrounds, all from different planets. Yeah. And then they all work together to solve the goal. And then the Federation is that on a macro level. It is about a bunch of different people working together for one common goal. And you're just like, that is a perfect message. That's a great thing. And also it's a great message where, especially for a kid as me, like me, and you as well, I believe, is this idea of that, it doesn't matter where you come from, you can still contribute. Yeah.
You can change the direction of the world or the galaxy or the universe, no matter where you come from. Yeah, exactly.
One man can fight the future.
That's right. That's
my favorite quotes.
Do you have a favorite episode that you turn to or go back to kind of remind you, or movie that to kind of like make you smile again thinking about Star Trek?
It's interesting. This is not really a smile one.
Okay.
My favorite episode of Star Trek of all of the series.
Wow.
Okay. Is The Visitor. It is episode 2 of season 4 of Deep Space Nine.
Wow.
Okay. And it's the story where Captain Sisko and his son Jake, they go through the wormhole, and the wormhole is going to do this thing that only happens once every, I think, 50 years or 80 years. Okay. And, the son is like, I don't want to go. And the dad's like, no, you got to see this. Like, we may never see this again in our lifetimes. You got to see it. And then the thing happens, and it kills Captain Sisko.
Right.
And then the episode is jumping through time, watching Jake Sisko grow up without his father and how he deals with that until he starts seeing like the ghost of his father.
Wow.
And then he becomes convinced that he's like, I can change it. I can go back in time and I can change it. I can bring my dad back. And it's this weird, perfect sci-fi episode about grief and learning about when is it right to let go and when is it right to hold on. And the brilliant thing about that episode, I think, is that you don't need to know anything about Star Trek or Deep Space Nine to watch that episode. But also, I think it's just such a great episode that doesn't give you an answer to that question. You remember I said, like, do you give up your grief or do you move on? It doesn't answer. It kind of just leaves it to you to decide, like, what's the right answer. But that's like, it's a very sad episode. It brings me close to tears. If I'm going for an enjoyment thing, there's 2 episodes.
Okay.
Well, one is Star Trek: The Next Generation Relics. It's the episode where Scotty comes back.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a great episode. Such a good episode. Yeah. And then the other one is I love Star Trek First Contact. It is actually my favorite Star Trek film. Wow. And it is, I just think, solid all around, as solid filmmaking. I think it is the best written Star Trek movie by far. And then it gives you that very much up uplifting ending where the Vulcans show up for first contact, and it's like the only Star Trek movie that kind of like is not about fighting a supervillain. Really, there is a supervillain, there is the Borg, but more of the story is about like getting humanity to this moment so they can enter the big galactic cacophony, right? And convincing James Cromwell to do what he's supposed to do. Put down your bottle,
messed with the timeline.
No, I fully admit that, and you can argue the best Star Trek movie for days, and I think objectively, I would even agree that Wrath of Khan is objectively, like stepping back, objectively the best Star Trek movie. But my favorite is First Contact.
That's I totally respect. I think First Contact is certainly in the top 3 for me. I mean, I've kind of pushed 4 kind of farther down my list as I've gotten older. I find it to be a bit quaint and not as cute as I remember it being when I was a kid. But 6, I've found Star Trek 6, I've found to become more and more topical and prescient as you watch what happens in our world, what's happening now in our world, and watching people betray each other within their own countries, for any number of reasons. And you're watching that play out in this idea of people not wanting to move on, people needing division in order to be successful, people needing to sow that division in order to maintain the status quo, so they can still remain in power, and fear the future, fear change, all of that. Throughout, Kirk has that speech after he says Kurtwood Smith and doesn't break a hip. He has that great speech where he talks about it. And so I love that. So Star
Trek 6 is very solid. Have you ever heard the famous story about one of I think the best line in Star Trek 6 is after the meeting with the Federation, and Spock says, Praxis blew up and we got to go save them. And it's only Kirk and Spock. Everybody else leaves the room.
Great scene.
And Kirk says, let them die. Let them die. Let them die. Because, I'll never forgive them for what they did to my boy, how they killed my boy. Apparently, so Nicholas Meyer wrote and directed that one.
Right.
William Shatner had a fight about that line. William Shatner believed that Kirk, as evolved as he is, would never say, let them die.
Wow.
And apparently it was the only, kind of hink he had with the script. And then I don't know how they settled it, but obviously they filmed Nicholas Meyer's version. Right. But that was apparently a big stickling point on set, that William Shatner was like, Kirk would never say let them die. And I think it's the greatest line in the movie.
The movie hinges on that line. The entire movie is him negotiating that story for himself. That line initiates the entire storyline to the rest of the movie. His arc begins in that moment when he says let them die. And it's about him discovering, and forgiving the Klingons for what happened to his son in Star Trek 3. That's 3 movies ago.
By the way, Star Trek 3, it's very goofy, but it's a very underrated Star Trek movie.
Yes. Yeah. The whole things that they experience and everything like that. Absolutely. We have some Streamlabs that came through, Jason. I want to get them rolling here. Hitman Hudson says, so I just started the show Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and I'm on season 1, episode 9 right now. It's really good so far. I've never seen any of these Star Trek shows before I started this one. Has Jason ever heard of it? Joking, of course.
Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek series.
Wow. Some people hate that series because they say
they're crazy.
They just sit there and do nothing. And it's like, no, I remember there was a lot happening on that show.
No, Star Trek Deep Space Nine is, if you were to ask me to name my favorite television show of all time, it is Star Trek Deep Space Nine, because it has everything. It has science fiction. It has very intense drama. And it is almost the most contemporary of all of them. Like, there's an episode of Deep Space Nine about the homelessness problem in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And they filmed that in 1994, and it feels like they shot it yesterday. I mean, it's the only, I think, because it wasn't based on a starship, it's the only Star Trek series that allowed them to get into the layers of the character. Right. In fact, some of I was watching some of the Star Trek panels earlier today, and Iris Stephen Bear, who was the showrunner of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, who I think is one of the greatest writers that have ever worked in television, he said that they always viewed the show as Gunsmoke in space. That they were like Star Trek is Wagon Train to the Stars, but we're Gunsmoke. And now I know most people probably don't know what Gunsmoke is, but if you're watching a show called The Outlaw Nation and you don't know what Gunsmoke is, then you got some problems.
I agree.
One of the greatest television shows of all time.
Get boned up on your Westerns, people, for God's sake.
You got to learn about the Ballad of Festus. That's all I'm saying.
Well said. Haskell 420 donated, said, "Hi, John and Jason. Good evening. Thank you, Jason, for coming on. All of us are so excited for this. Horseman, question. When was the moment that it really hit you so many comic book villains were soldiers and your inspiration to create your soldiers comic? Thank you."
Oh, it's interesting. It's not really so much that they're villains, it's that they're both. And I think I might talk about this in the book on Super Soldiers. I think a lot of it comes from 9/11. I really do. I think 9/11 really brought the United States service member into the consciousness of writers more so than any other time in history. And I think I really think it just became an easy, and that's some of the things I talk about in the book, is that a lot of writers will use it as an easy catch-all and they don't do any research into it. And you can really tell when a writer has no idea what they're talking about when it comes to his soldiers. Again, I think it's an easy track to just be like, this is how I prove that character is a badass. If I say they're a soldier, because most people know who the Punisher is, the Punisher was a soldier. So if I say this other character is a soldier, they're automatically a badass. I mean, look at Barry. Barry is a whole television show. I love Barry, but the whole television show is designed around Barry was a badass because he was in the Marines.
Right. And he was a sniper.
Yeah.
I agree. And that show's great. He's so good.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. I'm surprised how much I enjoyed that show. We went back and rewatched during the COVID, during this whole break and stuff. We went back on a Saturday and Sunday about a month ago and rewatched both seasons, like just one on Saturday and two on Sunday. It was so much fun to revisit that show. It's such an easy watch and a great watch with all that's going on here in the world.
Yeah, it's really intense. Like I think, man, Bill Hader's monologue at the end of the pilot to Henry Winkler, where he just like gives this monologue and Henry Winkler's like, "Where'd you write that?" And he was like, "Oh, I just improv that." And he's like, "Okay, good. You can join the class." one of the great moments of that show.
Yeah. I mean, and his, I think the last episode when they're having that moment on stage after he's like really confronted what he's been holding back for so long and coming out there and having that moment with her is just like, whoa, man. That's when Bill Hader went next. That series is when, to me, he went next level as an actor. And I would never be surprised if he wins an Oscar one day for his work. If they're still giving out Oscars in 5 years, I don't know.
Sure.
Alsco 420 also sent in a super chat. I know it's a long shot because Jason's so busy. John's got his 237 YouTube shows, LOL. But we so need a Star Trek show with Rocha, Jason, Mance, and Merle. Oh, man. You know, in a fantasy world, in a dream world, the four of us would have time to do a Star Trek show, but the four of us are so incredibly busy doing the things that we're doing. But I would jump in a heartbeat to be a part of a show like that and talk about, because all four of us bring such uniquely different points of views to Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do it. I could maybe show up once a month.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. Yeah, that would be a fun show.
Absolutely. All right, let me bring in Sean, my producer here on the show, to talk about how you guys can come in live in a little bit to ask questions of me and Jason. Got 140 you all watching us live right now. Thank you so much. Please hit that like button. We're only at 94 likes. We'd like to get up to 150 likes as soon as we could. So please hit that thumbs up button. Give us some love. Sean, good to see you. Let me take the brand down a little bit. Hold on here. Where is that thing? I have so many shows. I have to find it. There it is. Boom. Go ahead.
Is this one of your 237 shows?
Yeah, of course it is. It's my crown jewel of the 237.
I mean, I know it's you know, it's funny. A couple weeks ago, I was actually talking to Mark Riley, and I think we made that crack as well. We were like, John Rocha has 300 YouTube shows, it seems like now. Because it's like every time I open YouTube, you have a new show, John.
Yeah. I got to hustle, brother. You got to hustle, man. That's my life.
Look, I don't mean any offense with that. I mean more like, holy God, John, when is John going to sleep?
He doesn't. He did have 300. He cut back to 237. It's a weird number, but it is what it is. Yep. So, guys, welcome to the Outlaw Nation Show. If you guys haven't been here before, welcome. Like John said before, please drop a like. And if you're watching this after we go live, please drop a like and put a comment in. It does help with the algorithm. So we want to get the Outlaw Nation Show to the most mod people as possible so the show can grow and John can get more drinks and have more guests on. So if you are coming in live, so all the patrons have already gotten the link in the Discord. So if you are a patron in the Outlaw Nation at the $10 and above level, you're ready. The link is in Discord, so they're going to get the first cracks to come on live. Yeah. After a certain amount of time, the mods will put the link in the chat so other people can come in. So when you do click on the link, it will bring you to Streamlabs. It'll ask you to verify your mic and your camera. So just verify that you're using a mic and not just your computer or your phone, because you might get an echo. So just be mindful of that, and then be put backstage so John will be able to see you, and he can bring you in at any time. So just, when you're in backstage, just be ready. Yeah.
Make sure your mic is working. Make sure you have a question ready. Yeah. And if there's a lot of people in line, just ask one question and we can move on. So pick your favorite question you want to ask us, and we can go from there. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, man. It was good to see you.
I have a question.
Oh, please.
I have a question, Jason. So, Jason, this is you might be a fan of DC. I don't know if anybody knows that.
We're going to get to that for sure.
Wait. What is this DC you're speaking of?
Detective Comics. It might be a thing.
Okay. I'm only a fan of National Comics.
Oh, okay. So I've been wondering about this for quite some time. I was wondering, what if, and this is a big what if the Green Lantern movie that was supposed to start the DCEU actually worked? And then what if Man of Steel was more successful, so they wouldn't have to rush Batman into the sequel? We actually got a Man of Steel sequel. How do you think the DCEU, or whatever they're going to be still calling it, how do you think it would have shaped if those two things happened? If Green Lantern was successful and Man of Steel was more successful, where they wouldn't have to rush Batman in, where do you think it would have gone, and where do you think we would be at this point?
Oh, man. It's so funny because I've read the draft of Green Lantern that had Superman in it.
Wow.
Like the original draft of that script. It's pretty damn good. This is what I think. If Green Lantern had been successful, I think we would have gotten more of the side characters before we even got to Man of Steel. I think if Green Lantern would have been successful, they would have followed the Iron Man model, I think. So instead of going right to Superman, I think they probably would have been like, you know what? I think we could do Aquaman or Flash before we get to Superman, because they know Superman's their big gun.
Right.
Sadly, I kind of think Wonder Woman would have still came out in the same exact year, because I think they were always going to be nervous about Wonder Woman. But I don't know. Like, if it had gone that model, I would say that maybe we would have had a Justice League movie. We might have had 2 Justice League movies by this point. Because I think they would have gone slower. That's an interesting. I'll say this too. I think we would have had a chance for more C-listers. I think we would have had a Booster Gold movie by now. I think we would have had a Cyborg movie by now. I think we would have maybe had a Question movie by now. We might have had a Zatanna movie by now, which is a movie I've been pulling for a long time. But yeah, I think because that's what Man of Steel and Batman v Superman told the executives at WB. They were like, "Oh man, don't stray too far. It's only Superman and Batman."
Right.
Yeah. All right. Which was unfortunate, but
yeah.
It is what it is. I wish your dream would have come true, because that sounds way better than what we're getting now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right, fair. All right. Thank you, Sean. It's always good to see you, my man.
Thanks, Sean.
Have a good one, guys.
Say hi to Alex and Video Drew for me, please. Respect. All right. That's Sean Barrett, my producer here on the show. Let's start bringing in some more people. Jason, if you're ready, are you good?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring him in.
Brennan, what's going on, man?
Hello. Hi, Jason. Good to meet you.
Hello, sir.
So I was very fascinated to learn that in 1976, the producer of Star Wars went to a Star Trek convention to try to tell people about this new Space Odyssey.
I've heard of this. Yes.
Do you think that there's a certain creative itch that's scratched by Star Trek that Star Wars doesn't have, and vice versa?
Good question.
Yes. Yeah, dude, that's a great question. But yes, I do. And I think that's a problem, right, in Star Trek, is that Star Trek is not Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think Star Trek is very much a character-based show. It's about the crew. You know, like we watch Star Trek not because he's gonna fight the Klingons. We watch Star Trek because we care about Captain Kirk.
And we want to see Kirk, Spock, and Bones argue with each other.
Yeah, exactly. And
yet still love each other.
Yeah, totally. And there's also the great argument, and this is why it's great writing by Gene Roddenberry, is that part of the reason why we love the original series is that McCoy, Spock, and Kirk are all incomplete, but together they make a perfect person.
The Holy Trinity, man.
Yeah, they're a Holy Trinity. And so, like, I think if you're going to make anything Star Trek, it's got to be really hardcore character based. And I think Star Wars is operatic. Star Wars is very much like, it's about the movements like music. It doesn't have to get into the character so much. You don't really need as many, like a lot of the Star Wars characters are archetypes. Like they're not really that deep because you're there for like the movements. You're moved for the crescendo to the lightsaber fight and all that type of stuff. And that's why Star Trek is, the joke is that Star Trek is about talking about technobabble and Star Wars is about pew, 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 you know?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question, Brent. I don't think I could add much more to what to Jason said. I mean, my experience with Star Trek has always felt like coming home, whereas Star Wars is to be appreciated and understood. Star Trek feels like a family member, and that's the way that's the way I kind of feel about it when I come back to it and enjoy it. And I do enjoy talking Star Wars. That's why we do the Jedi Way here on the Outlaw Nation channel.
I like Star Wars as well. I went like full out. I love Star Wars.
I love both. I love both. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can. That is allowed. You can like the Beatles and the Stones. You're allowed, for God's sake.
It's just amazing how
better.
Yeah, we know the Beatles are better, of course. Yeah. It's not Garage Band.
But you're right. Thanks, Brendan. To satisfy different. Yeah,
exactly.
Well,
To satisfy different impulses. Exactly, man.
Do you have
a favorite movie, Brendan, of Star Trek? Did you like?
I think I like The Wrath of Khan, but I do like First Contact a lot as well. So
okay, all right, fair respect. Thanks for coming in, dude. It's always good to see you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, man. Brendan's so great. I appreciate it. All right, let's get Jay Scotty for real in here from the attic. Jay Scotty, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, doing great. Evening, John.
Hello, sir.
Evening, Jason. Good to see you guys.
Dueling beards here. Go ahead. Yes.
I wanted to start by while I have two veterans here, I wanted to thank you guys for your service as well as your advocacy for service members. Really appreciate it. It's
thank you, sir.
Inspiring. And then I got to get this out of the way as well. This is going to be a GHL deep cut for you, but West Coast Avengers.
Da, da, da. All right. There's the end joke there. That is a joke from like the first 100 episodes of Geek History Lessons. Wow. So well done, sir.
Yeah, I actually I met you and Ashley at WonderCon in 2016 when Collider did their little meet and greet afterwards, and you guys were really gracious. So good to see you again. Yeah. So I wanted to ask a question regarding Man of Steel. I was rewatching it recently, and I think they should they ever do a Man of Steel 2? You know, a lot of people are wanted to go the Brainiac route, but I think they actually really planted the seeds for Metallo. You know, there was that Kryptonian technology that looked a lot like the Wakandan stuff we see, where it's almost like a liquid metal. And it was like the one time that Superman has had a weakness like other than kryptonite. It was the fact that was like creating the Kryptonian environment that made him weak. So I think there's a potential maybe to kind of warp that into a new version of Metallo. Do you think there's potential there? Or do you have any interest in seeing Metallo pop up as a villain? What do you think?
I think. Metallo is a villain that doesn't get enough cred. He's actually a really cool villain. It's when John Byrne rebooted Superman, Metallo was the first villain. And I think you using the pieces, your pitch for it is so genius that somebody would take that Kryptonian technology and be like, yeah, Metallo. Now I know this is not proper etiquette to mention another podcast on John Rocha's podcast.
It's quite all right.
But Mark Riley and I pitched Man of Steel 2 on like an hour-long episode of the Riley Roundtable, and we called it Man of Tomorrow. And we pitched Bizarro was our take. Okay. But I will say, for a second alternate pitch, I will happily take Metallo.
Definitely. Can you give a little tease of your pitch for Bizarro if you can recall any of it?
Oh yeah, like a lot of it was us because I think and again I think Bizarro was like one of the best Superman villains because he's evil Superman, right? And you could play with the audience a lot by showing them scenes where Superman is being a bad guy, also winking at the audience who thinks that Henry Cavill Superman is a bad guy, and then reveal that that's Bizarro. So you can play with that. And it's very much a movie about Superman fighting himself.
Yeah.
Or in all aspects, like morality and everything like that.
Right. Exploring the other side of it. I mean, because and that fits in the kind of Zack Snyder presentation of Superman is this reflective guy who's constantly questioning his existence in the world and his place in the world, the existential approach to the whole situation, and being an alien, constantly feeling out of sorts, or constantly feeling like he's different than everyone else, even though everyone else feels they're different than everyone else. They're at least human at the base level. He is not. So it's that kind of investigation, exploring of who he is that I really enjoyed about Man of Steel. So adding on to that, what you guys just mentioned makes all the sense in the world, you know. And it made like almost $600 million worldwide. So I think obviously, and we'll say this 1,000 times, I think WB or DC overreacted and tried to save it by throwing in Batman, and it's a shame because I still will go back and put on scenes from Man of Steel over the weekend. I was when Lindley went out with her sister, I just for an hour I just watched scenes from Man of Steel on YouTube because I love that film. It makes me so happy.
I rewatched it on my birthday again on June because I love it. When they get to that last scene, man, and she goes, "Welcome to the planet," which I think is not only a genius line of dialogue, but when that music, I love the Man of Steel theme that Hans Zimmer made. When that music comes up at Man of Steel, I get goosebumps every single time. And again, and I fully admit that the last battle goes on a little bit too long. I fully admit that. And I fully admit that Pa Kent being killed by a tornado is pretty dumb. But everything else in the movie, pretty fucking solid.
Yeah, I mean, and I will always I break every time when he yells or screams from the deep pits of his soul after he kills Zod. That's his hand. His hands make him the last Krypton that he knows in the world, in the galaxy, in the universe. And it's by his hand that happens. And that pain of having to kill the one person who is like him in the world is devastating. And too many people get caught in whether he should or he shouldn't have, rather than understanding why that was in the movie. You know, and so
and the cinematography of that movie is just astounding. Even to this day, like that movie came out 7 years ago, and I still think that movie looks beautiful.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. The scene when he flies for the first time, Jesus Christ, do I get emotional when that happens? So,
I'll admit I was actually one of those people that was a little lukewarm on it when I first saw it, but
get out of here.
I've revisited it. I've revisited it a few times, and with each subsequent revisit, there's more and more to take away. You know, there's really so many poignant moments like that. Can I keep pretending to be your son? You are my son.
Yeah,
it just really hits you in the feels, and the imagery. Yeah, it's all there.
It's because you're getting older, Jay Scotty. That's how it works.
Yeah, it is. It is. That was something I love it, and you bring up that scene is so great. I want to be your son. You are my son. It's something I did not even consider about Superman until I saw that movie, and it was brought up to me is that moment is like a seminal marked moment in movies for people that are adopted.
Yeah. Oh, great point.
And that's something I never considered, because when you think about Superman, you're like, oh, he is the ultimate adopted kid.
Right.
And this is him and his father being like, no, you're my son. I don't care. I don't care how many galaxies away you came. You are my son. And I think for most people that have been adopted, like that scene must just hit you in the heart of like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, Diane Lane doesn't get enough credit for that scene also. When Kal-El comes back and he's like, I found my people, and she's so happy for him, but at the same time, you can see that hurt behind her eyes at the same time. They do the adopted storyline so well.
Oh my God. When she says, think of just listen to my voice, shut everything out. Even me just saying the lines right now, I almost started getting emotional again, man. I've been there. I've been the kid who was like, beat up and bullied and freaked out, and his mom had to get called, and she had to come to elementary school and walk me home because I was locked myself in. That moment is resonant for me. And so it's like so much of that film, especially being the son of immigrants, the feeling, the illegal alien feeling that you have. I mean, he's not an American anchor baby. He's an Earth anchor baby, for God's sake. So it's crazy to think about how topical and relevant that film gets as we move forward. And the people who hate that film will never be convinced to like that film. And it breaks my heart, because it's such a good film.
But do either of you guys know about the DC animated movie Justice League Gods and Monsters?
I haven't seen that
myself. I've seen the artwork for it.
So it came out a couple years ago, but it's like sort of this alternate take that Bruce Timm did, where in this universe, Zod is Superman, Kurt Langstrom is Batman, and then Big Barda is Wonder Woman. Now it just alternates all the time. But the update he does of Zod is that Zod is the one who escapes Krypton. And he escapes Krypton. Krypton blows up like 20 years earlier. So it's Zod as a kid who escapes Krypton. And when he lands, he crashes in Mexico. And his parents, when he's his parents are Mexican farmers. And when he's a kid, they try to cross the border.
What?
And it is such a interesting and very relevant new take on Superman that I definitely suggest you check it out.
Wow.
Definitely.
And that's an animated film?
It's an animated film, yeah.
I'm totally going to watch that. Holy shit.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, definitely check that out.
But it's called Justice League Gods and Monsters. It came out like 3 or 4 years ago.
Totally going to watch that. Cool. Thanks, guys. Always good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for your time, guys. Be well.
One more, you're good. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Let
Good
somebody else in.
People, don't forget about sending in some Streamlabs and Super Chats. We're kind of light tonight. I don't know what's going on. What's the happening here? Last week we had such a great night. Let's step up to the plate here and show Jason Inman how much you appreciate him being on the show. Please send in your Streamlabs Super Chats. Support the show. Support the Outlaw Nation so I can bring on guests like Jason, have these great conversations with, for God's sakes. All right, Tushka Productions. What's going on there from Oklahoma? What's going on, brother?
Hey, doing good, brother.
Oklahoma.
I'm in Broken Bow.
Oh, I know. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The Klingons crashed there, right? That's how Starfleet happened.
No joke. That's awesome.
All right, that happens in the first Enterprise. The first episode of Star Trek Enterprise. Yeah, nerd. Klingon crashes in Broken Bow, Oklahoma.
Dude, that's super cool. All right, hey, that's our claim to fame, and I didn't even know it then. Not bad. Yeah, but no, actually, it's crazy because I was actually going to ask you about Kansas, man. So from Stark, Kansas, where'd you go to college? Were you Shocker? Or?
I went to the University of Tulsa.
You went to Tulsa? Okay.
Yeah, that's where I went. I lived in Tulsa for about 3 years. Yeah. I was born in Claremore, was raised in Grove and Tahlequah area. Had family from, Arkansas and Kansas area and that, kind of Joplin stuff. But second question. My sister still lives in Joplin.
She still lives in Joplin? Yeah.
Still lives in Joplin, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully she didn't get hit too hard with that tornado a few years ago.
She was fine, but I appreciate the asking.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, let's go a little bit further north, Kansas City, man, because I lived there for 18 years. You a Chiefs fan?
Not really.
Oh,
not really. I understand. I'll tell you what. I am a Royals fan.
Yeah, there you go.
I love the Royals. Like they've always been my team. Even in the '90s, when we go to the terrible baseball games for $5 and sit in the outfield. And the Royals, I remember one of the games we went was when the Yankees were really big. The Yankees were like winning all the World Series.
That's right,
and
the 90s.
Yeah, I remember there was a game where the Royals scored nothing that I went to, and the Yankees scored like 21.
Yeah, no, I remember that game. Yeah, and then it happened again in the mid 2000s, or whenever they had that second run. Yeah, but hey, $5, man, dude, you couldn't beat that. Now they won a championship and it's up to like $15 a ticket, which is a little ridiculous.
But. Did you guys? I thought y'all won a World Series in the 90s. I thought I remember seeing that happen.
85 and then 2015.
Was George Brett in 85?
Yeah.
And who did they go to the series in the 90s? I thought they played maybe Ozzie Smith and the Cardinals or something. Maybe they played the series. All right. My bad. But anyway, go ahead. What's your question, bro?
Yeah, man. So I mean, you're a veteran as well. I served. So I was looking a little bit at your service record. So in 2004, you joined. You were airborne.
Were you accessing his personal files from the Department of
researching
Defense?
for questions, John.
I joined in 2000.
You research for questions. Why can't I?
Well, I didn't know you were actually accessing his service record and getting in the DOD.
No.
Man.
It's just a superficial Google.
He's like
It's a superficial Google search. You can do it yourself.
Inman, J. Yeah, go ahead.
But no. So you were airborne. Were you at Fort Benning?
No, actually.
Okay.
So I wasn't airborne, so I don't know what you're reading.
Oh, okay. So I saw that on your Twitter.
What's the research you're looking at?
There's a Twitter post that had airborne on there.
Yeah,
but,
Inman is spelled INMAN. Just let you know if you're looking for it.
It's fine. It's fine. I was actually a combat engineer.
Okay, yeah.
I was a combat engineer is what I was, which is basically like, there's something in the road, go stick a thing of C4 on the side of it and blow it up. So I was I actually did my basic in AIT at Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri.
Lost in the woods. Yeah.
But when I deployed to Iraq, I was mobilized out of Fort Sill.
Mm-hmm.
So in Lawton.
So, yeah, man. So while overseas, like when did you deploy?
2005, the entire year.
Okay. So right out the gate, you got thrown out of the mix. Okay. Yeah. I was there 08, 09, but I was a truck driver.
Oh, nice.
And, yeah. So we were based out of Gardner, Kansas, and Fort Riley's where we did our IT all the time. So AT.
Wow. Did you go over?
Yeah. We went 08 and 09. You
were there for 2 years.
Well, it was overlapping year.
Okay.
Nice. And then they went back in 11, but I had actually gotten skin cancer from the anthrax immunization. Who would have thought the anthrax immunization caused issues? But
oh wow, because I had that shot as well. Yeah. Wow, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I just took it as a sign, from God that hey, okay, I'm out.
Get out.
That's my ticket. Could have fought it, but. No, man. Yep. That's awesome, though. Thank you so much for your service, John. You as well.
No.
I know. Jason's is a little bit more.
I think people who served actually in the theater of war. I always appreciate when people say thank you for your service, but I didn't see battle. Like, I didn't actually get to shoot a weapon to defend my country. So, but I did serve, and I respect my service, but I respect the people who actually went out into a theater of war and risked death and risked injury to protect our country or to defend our way of life. And so I'm always humbled by when people say it, but I think it deserves to be said more to the people who actually went over there and fought in any theater of war, to be honest. So that's my own personal.
But you signed up.
I did.
You knew the risk.
That's the way I look at it.
You know what I mean? And honestly, I don't know, Jason, how you look at yours, but with mine, I feel the same way. I'm like, well, it wasn't an actual war. It wasn't like we were kicking down doors and we were driving and took small on fire a little bit. But I look at World War II in Vietnam, and I'm like, that's a real war.
Right.
So
I talk a bit about that in the book too, where there's a lot of it where I'm like, why are we here?
Don't you question the authority? They hate that. They fucking hate that. Yeah. My agent asked me today, or my manager asked me today, she's like, what level did you reach? What's the highest level you reached? And I go, well, specialist is what I consistently stayed at. I went to sergeant, but I was a bit of a malcontent, so they busted me down twice, so I just stayed there at specialist. I didn't want to go higher. Because I was really always constantly questioning the orders and constantly questioning the logic of what the fuck we were doing, and they hated that. So that was not a good idea in the end. So I get it.
Yeah, I ended up specialist as well. And got an Article 15, but it was because we went to Buffalo Wild Wings while on orders.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, well,
you get it.
Article 15, but we also had beverages. So
okay.
All right. That was my rank as well. I had a chance to go up to sergeant, but I would have to stay in, and I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. I see what I need to see. Peace out, brother. What did you have a question, Tushko? You just in here to
I asked like 5 questions, man.
Okay. All right.
I did bad research, so they not ruined the follow-up question.
What else is the Pentagon servers revealed?
But but seriously, thank you so much, and I love that you're incorporating that with your art and with your writing.
I agree.
More so, and I hate to say that I haven't read it, but definitely will.
You need
looking at it and everything.
Well, I'll tell you what. I have signed copies on my website, jasoninman.com, and I can personalize it to you. And if you do that, tell me that you were like that I met you through the Outlaw Nation, so I can write you a personal message. And I always throw in like extra swag, so I'll give you lots of extra stuff.
Awesome, man. Yeah, definitely, we'll do. Yeah, I appreciate that, and look forward to hopefully seeing you some more in the Schmoedown and maybe the Intergittium League.
Probably not gonna happen.
I don't think you're gonna see him there much.
Then why is it in the title? Why is it in the title, John? Come on, man.
Because we're gonna bring it because it might come up. I always try to put things that might come up.
Yeah,
I didn't say Jason Inman's coming back to the Schmoedown in the title.
Well, that's how I read into it.
Well, sure.
No.
We also see how you read people's service records. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. No.
No, but hey, man, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to chat about Chiefs, military, and Kansas, middle nowhere. But
give my best to Oklahoma, man.
Yeah, hey, definitely.
Tell everybody the Klingons are coming.
I will. Yeah, and also if you talk to Winston, tell him how great Oklahoma is.
Oh yeah, he
doesn't know.
hates Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma?
Winston hates Oklahoma City because he grew up in Dallas and he said that place is shit. But I've never been, so I don't know.
I'm gonna say Tulsa's better than Oklahoma City. I'm just gonna say that right there.
Hey, you're not wrong on that. Yeah, you're not wrong. But hey, man, appreciate it. Thank you for your service.
I'll
take care.
See, brother. That was a lame salute. My fault.
Yeah, I know. I found that I weirdly ever since I've gotten out, I'm just so used to the hat or the beret.
Yeah.
So now I end up doing this, and I know this is wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong.
So.
Well, we got soft, man. We're civilians, man. Charlie's getting stronger in the bush while we're out here in civilian world. Apocalypse Now.
In Vietnam.
Some days. Ryan Fenley said, "How does it feel knowing Bateman is a huge Schmoedown star? That rivalry between you and Bateman there in the Schmoedown. Any thoughts on that?"
Absolutely no feelings.
Fair point. Saluting that. There we go. Saluting that. Correctly.
I hope he loves it. I hope he having a great time. Haven't thought about it one bit.
That's a fair point. We got a couple of Streamlabs to roll through here, Jason. Hold on just a second there, Smithy. I'll get you in just a second, my man. Hitman Hudson also wants to know, will we ever see a Legion of Superheroes movie, do you think? My God. Probably 70 by the time that happens. Jason.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
There was a really good Legion of Superheroes cartoon a couple years back, and one of our good friends, our mutual friends, Yuri Lowenthal, did a voice on there. I think you got a better chance of it being a TV show than I do, just because the cast is so large,
right?
But yeah, I say never say never.
Yeah, I mean, if it becomes like if this new path they're going down becomes more and more successful. I'm certainly they've seen financial success. Yeah. And they keep saying they're not connecting these movies for now. I think it's for now. You never know if the Legion of Superheroes can show up. There's already Justice Society of America that's rumored supposed to be showing up here at some point. So you never know.
Black Adam,
in Black Adam, right? Exactly. And I used to collect Legion like crazy. Legion of Superheroes for like years. I probably have stacks of it at my mom's house in the attic somewhere. But yeah, I would love to see Legion of Superheroes. That would be a blast. Let's see. Oh, Philly G says he donated just a little bit. He said, just because you guys are awesome. Thank you, Philly G. It's very kind of you. Jay Scotty for real says, big ups to Jason for taking the time to spend with the Outlaw Nation. Looking forward to your continued success. What were some of the successes as well as challenges you experienced when writing your book, Super Soldiers, A Salute? Do you have a favorite chapter?
Ooh, that's a great question. My favorite chapter is the Captain Atom chapter. And the reason why is because he's a character that I've never really liked in DC Comics. And he's the big silver guy, if you ever seen him. He's basically so here's give you a little bit of comic book history here. Captain Atom is actually a Charleston Comics character that DC bought in the 80s. And actually, when Alan Moore was first writing Watchmen, he had the rights to the Charleston characters. Wow. So Captain Atom is the original Dr. Manhattan.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. And then eventually DC was like, no. We can't have like one of these heroes rape another, and we can't have one of them get cancer. We're going to take those back. And so Alan Moore had to create original names. But if you look at Dr. Manhattan, he's basically Captain Atom.
He is.
And now basically Captain Atom is just the guy they pull out to fight Superman every once in a while. So I never liked the character. And then when I was doing research for the book, I discovered that his original arc is about being lost in time. or just that the idea that he was in the 1960s and he's pulled forward to 1985 and suddenly he's lost. He just like his daughter has grown up. His wife has married somebody else. He doesn't understand computers at all. And in fact, it lends itself very much into this amazing metaphor about being deployed in the military. Because when you're deployed in the military, your life goes on pause, but the world keeps going. So when you come back, the world moved on. Everybody else moved on, but your life literally went on pause. And so you were kind of like lost in that same feeling. And so that's why the Captain Atom Captain Atom chapter is my favorite.
That's fair, man. I love that. I became a fan of Captain Atom when Jam Dematis took over.
Demateus.
I have a tough time saying his last name.
It's a hard name. It's a hard name.
It is. When he took over Justice League, when he was running Justice League, and he brought in like these great side characters like Rocket Red, and of course Guy and Gardner, Fire and Ice, and Captain Atom, and they made and even Mr. Mary Oberon, all the like everybody was involved. Yeah, all the great like ancillary characters that got brought into the Justice League and got to become a part of it was so much fun in their hands. And I thought I gained a whole new appreciation for Captain Atom being in that series. And so that when what happens in Kingdom Come happens, and it's all because of Captain Atom or what happens to Captain Atom, it made it all the more resonant for me when it happened in Kingdom Come, because I had that story and that history that is touched upon with him, Jason, in that run. They mention the things of him being out of time and all that when they have the time to do it with him. So yeah, that's a great point. That's awesome to hear from you, man. So what's the other part of it? What were the experiences what were the challenges you experienced when writing the book?
Well, the big challenge is I didn't realize how much research it was going to take. I actually had to ask, because when I pitched the book originally, I think I pitched it in like June or July. And then they were like, great, give us 60,000 words by December. And I was like, cool. And then by the end of September, I realized, oh boy, there's no way. Because I had done the math. I'd be like, okay, I got to write this many words a day.
Right.
Because I wanted to finish a first draft by December 1st so that I could spend December doing a second draft. And I was running out of time. And so I asked them for an extension because of the research. But another thing that really challenged me is when I first started writing it, I didn't want to put anything personal in it. I just wanted it to be about the heroes and my thoughts of the heroes. And I was lucky that my wife, Ashley Victoria Robinson, was my first editor, and she read it and she was like, I really think you've got to put some of your stories in there.
Yeah.
And the minute I started doing that, the book came alive. Yeah. And so I'm so glad that it did that. And I'm so glad that, because without Super Soldiers, a lot of people have asked me when's the sequel coming? And I'm like, I don't know, because they were so fascinated with it. But I will say that this book, what'll probably come first is that this book has reminded me that I think I can write my novel about my time in Iraq. And I think people might actually care, because that was my biggest thing with Super Soldiers. I was like, I don't think anybody will care.
Yeah, it's the weird conversation we have with ourselves, right? It's this idea of accepting that the reason people follow you is because they actually do respect your opinion. They do appreciate your point of view. Yet we're so caught up in our feelings about ourselves, and also because we're soldiers, like it's not our thing to draw attention to ourselves. We've had that conditioned out of us. I don't do 270 shows, quote unquote, so that I can get attention. It's because I like talking about this stuff with people that I respect and admire. And it's just a great side thing that it can become something that makes money for me and supports my life. So those are those things that people sometimes will come at me with. It's, oh, why you do so many shows? And it's because I enjoy doing it. And I love talking about it. But I really try hard not to make myself the focus of it. But then you realize that's actually what makes the difference and why people watch and listen. So that makes so much sense. Yeah,
that's a lesson too. I mean, because a lot of it was I didn't think civilians would care about soldier stuff.
Right.
Because the original title of the book, I think, was Soldier Stories. And then like it evolved and moved along. But like, I didn't think civilians would care. And then I found out that no, they really cared about that stuff more than the superhero stuff.
Yeah. I asked you this question when you were on the Deep Cut talking about it after the book had just been released. And I want to ask you this again. Now, with this much distance from the book, are you compiling a second volume of this? Are there people that you left out? You mentioned a couple that you left out, but I know that the end of the book has a number of people that you do honorable mentions for. But Is there a plan for you to at some point revisit this and do like what we see with other books, an updated
like a revised
version?
edition?
Yeah, revised edition. Yeah.
There's no current plan.
Okay.
But I think enough people have asked about it that it's probably in the pipeline somewhere.
Okay.
I'm more looking forward to trying something else. Like I really want to do another novel, and it's in the plans, the cards. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm more excited about trying a fictional novel. And the next fictional novel I'm going to do, that'll be the next book I publish, prose. And it'll either be, I have an idea for like a sort of a comic book thriller.
Okay.
And I have an idea about my year in Iraq. And I don't know which one I'm going to go for first. It's just going to be, the mood. But that's what Super Soldiers Inspire, where again, it was this idea of that I could tell that story about it. I will say that the Iraq book already has an outline. I've already done the outline for it, and I think it's pretty solid. And right now I'm working on the rough title. It's called Little Soldier.
Okay. And it's about your time.
It's sort of a fictionalized time. It's not like the main character is not me. I've changed all the names, but it's heavily inspired by my year. And it's basically like seeing a person drop into Iraq 2005 on January and then leave in December 2005.
Wow.
And how they change over that year.
I can't wait to interview you when it's a feature film. And
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Why not? Unique points of view are always welcome, I think, and with these experiences and stuff with military never loses its appeal in this country. That's for damn sure. There are people who are always interested in that experience. So that's great. That's awesome, man. And are you going to self-publish, or is it through the same publisher you did Super Soldiers?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's just
you're just writing and seeing where it goes.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's awesome. I love it. Always working, man. I may have so many shows, but this guy's doing a million things too in a different way. So please don't come at me.
It's a lot of typing. It's
not typing. Smithy, let's bring what's up. The director Alan Smithy is in here to talk about his. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you guys doing?
I like that Batman hat. Good.
Hey, I wore it just for you. I heard you talking a lot about Superman, so I figured I don't have a Superman hat, but anyway. I got a question though. In Superman Returns, he's hurt at the end of the movie, and a doctor tries to stick him with a needle, and it keeps breaking, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because he's Superman, right? So here's my question. How does Superman cut his hair and shave? It's super hair. He's got to have like a super bick.
All right. So this question has already been answered in canon.
Oh, in Canada. All right.
John Byrne.
In Canada.
It actually was answered by a Canadian.
Oh, I like
Canadian.
John Byrne in 1986. And if you know anything about John Byrne, creator of X-Men, he's very cantankerous.
Yeah.
And he kept getting that question. And so he specifically wrote a scene into a Superman comic book showing Superman shaving himself and trimming his hair. He has a piece of the original ship that he came in, and he bounces heat vision off of it.
See, I knew it'd be his heat vision. I was guessing that while you were describing it.
But he only did that because he was tired of getting that question at comic book conventions. And he was like, all right, you idiots.
Yeah. And there's that moment where Superman cuts himself with the heat vision because he can cut himself. So he has to get a little piece of Kleenex and stick it on.
Yeah.
Not regular Kleenex.
So it's funny. So in that same issue, this is why John Byrne is so legendary, where he shaves himself. He intentionally does that, where he nicks himself and puts toilet paper on it so that Lois thinks he's a klutz.
Oh, that makes sense. I've never even read that comic, but I seem to have predicted slight outcome there. But
yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of it's you know, like when you think about it logically, like it's pretty obvious. But yeah, it's a great question though.
Supermanscaping.
There it is. Nice.
I'm down for that.
See, I brought it back around. You got to get a sponsor, Rocha. You can
I got to get Manscaping. I got to get. Apparently, that was enough for Blurs and Hood to do a second show every week now. So I got to get me a sponsor for God's sakes. Come on. I shave my balls too, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Anyway, Smithy, anything else?
Well, you know what? I do have a simple question.
Oh, sure.
Because we've talked about favorite Star Trek movies. So, what's the worst Star Trek movie?
Rocha, what's your answer for this one?
What was the last one? Insurrection. It's absolutely unwatchable.
That's not the last one.
What was the last one?
Nemesis.
The last one was Beyond.
Oh no, I mean from the Next Generation.
Oh, that was Nemesis. Yeah,
Nemesis.
Yeah, you're right.
Nemesis was like slamming my head into a wall. And Beyond, I didn't like Beyond either, but it's watchable. But I thought Nemesis was absolutely horrible.
I think it's far and away Star Trek V: The Final Frontier.
Yeah, that's fair.
What does God need with a starship? I mean, the fact that they shot that line and everybody up the board, all the way to the Paramount executives, were like, "This movie's going to be a hit." They were on
just let Shatner continue his contract so we can finish this thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that they weren't like they didn't make Shatner go back and reshoot that is ridiculous.
Yeah. But he's got an issue with Kurt would never say, "Let them die."
Let them die.
But this crap.
But the thing is, I thought I remember seeing it in the theater. I went to see that thing open because I was such a mad Star Trek fan.
Final Frontier?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember sitting in the theater by myself, seeing this thing on a Saturday afternoon, opening weekend. And I remember like going, what's happening? What's happening? Because I had enjoyed the first one. I loved the second one, liked the third one, enjoyed the fourth one. And I thought this is a great run. And then all of a sudden I'm watching this movie. I'm like, why am I hating this movie? And it as I get older and I rewatch it every once in a while, it's a chore to get through. What strikes me more is the lost opportunity to really explore the Spock situation with a half brother. And Lawrence Luckenbill, I think, did the best he could with that character. But there was like some really interesting Star Wars philosophical conversations to be had that they kind of pissed away in that movie for a number of reasons. And I always hate that because when Spock shows up and has those kinds of conversations, it's actually really, really interesting. It adds a new dimension to the franchise.
Did you know who was originally supposed to be Cyborg?
No, who?
Sean Connery.
Oh,
missed opportunity.
He was
right there.
He was signed in everything.
What?
And then he got the offer for Last Crusade. Their schedules conflicted, and Sean Connery said, "Screw you, Star Trek," and went to Last Crusade, which I think was the better choice.
I agree.
Those came out in the same year, I think, right?
Yeah, they did.
89?
Both in 89.
I'm from the planet Scotland. Hey, my least favorite is Insurrection. I actually like Nemesis, Rocha.
Do you really?
Tom Hardy as a clone of Picard, and Ron Perlman gets to do his full makeup thing that he always does with like Hellboy and Beauty and the Beast.
True.
It's not a great Star Trek movie at all, but it's basically like the Next Generation Star Trek. Oh my God, I could see Rocha losing respect for me every single time.
No. That movie to me feels like
oh my God.
I agree with you.
That movie to me feels like what Jason said. Let's just throw in a kid or give him a grandma or something like that. That's what that movie felt. We're out of ideas. Let's try.
Tom Hardy is actually like that is one of the saving graces of the movie. Tom Hardy's performance is actually pretty good in that movie. All right. But it is a garbage script.
It's the generations trying to rip off Wrath of Khan. They're like, let's try to just pair this with Wrath of Khan. So,
is Insurrection the F. Murray Abraham one where his veins pop out or blow up every time he gets upset?
Murray Abraham gets a bunch of facelifts.
Woof,
and didn't Frakes direct that one? Or
he did.
He also directed First Contact, which is a fantastic. It's the best, I think, of the Next Generation now.
I agree.
1,000% agree. Even though I still have a soft spot for Generations. All right, thanks, Smithy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Inman and Outlaw. See you guys later.
Love you, man. Such a good guy. All right, let's hit some Streamlabs and Super Chats here, Jason. We're rounding the corner towards the end of the show. Andrew Hale said, E4 Specialist Mafia runs in Outlaw Nation tonight. Respect. We're everywhere. Huh? All right.
I like that.
Nice, Andrew. Andrew got called up to serve for his unit during the troubles that were happening a few weeks ago, and so I'm glad he was okay and nothing happened to him. He's one of my favorite patrons here on the Outlaw Nation Show. Yeah, he is. And thank him for being here tonight to moderate. All right, King Nirvana says enjoyed the chronological timeline of Superman on GHL. Man, might listen again on Batman. By the way, will you do the Injustice 2 storyline, especially since it had 2 endings in the game?
Oh, interesting. Well, thank you for enjoying. I want to pimp out that episode because today we did this episode that had been talked about for 2 years. A couple years ago, we did the chronological Batman timeline, and that was where Ashley and I just were like, we're going to look at all the events of the comic books, and we're going to decide if all this stuff happens to Batman, because we know it in the comic books, right? And they keep a continuity. How old is he? And we go through the years. I'll give you a spoiler for the Batman one because it's 2 years old. He's 46. That was the youngest we could make him. So today we did Superman, and for that one I brought in Krypton's Cameron Cuff, a Kryptonian himself, the star of Krypton. He was the guy. So he does his timeline, and we determined Superman's chronological age, and I think it's a great episode. Awesome. But will we do Injustice? I will probably do some version of Injustice, but we on Geekcaster Lesson, we don't like to do things where you can just play a video game or just read one book or play one video game, because we'd rather you experience that media in the form that they want instead of us just telling it to you.
Yeah.
But we could have a discussion on Injustice. I have no doubt on that, and I guarantee you we'll talk about Injustice sometime in the future, probably when Injustice 3 comes out.
Is there an episode of GHL that you'd want to revisit and do again? We do something long enough. We all have one of those, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to our first year and you can look at. We have a lot of rough ones. We have a lot of rough ones. We didn't figure out in the first year. We did a couple episodes about characters that we hated, like we personally hated.
Oh, wow.
And I think you can tell. I think you go back and listen, you can tell. And we quickly decided, like, we can't do a character that we hate until we find something that we love about them, and then you can do the episode.
Right.
I'd probably redo Captain Marvel. We did Carol Danvers pretty early into the run, and I'm not a huge fan of Carol Danvers.
Okay.
So
as a character,
Okay. Yeah, as a character. So that would probably be my redo.
There's a lot with that Carol Danvers, man. You go deep diving into those storylines they threw her into in the comics, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on here, man? What were you all working out?
They didn't know what to do with her for the longest time. She was an alcoholic.
Yeah. She got raped. Like, it was like, what the fuck is happening?
She had an alien baby. Like, there's all this. Yeah, it's just a lot of problems with that character.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Yeah, agree. All right. DGMC says, Frank Castle, Rocha, and Steve Rogers Inman trading war stories on the show tonight. Love it. Been reading Ennis's Max stuff recently, blowing me away as a novice comic reader. Either of you had similar experience with media you weren't familiar with? Yeah, Jason, anything like that for you?
Oh yeah, a lot of the stuff.
Okay,
I can't think of any recent one. I mean, the Garth Ennis Punisher run is brilliant, simply for the fact that he's the first writer. He's writing the Punisher in 2000. He was like, you know what? He is a Vietnam vet. Frank Castle is 60, and it gives this whole layer to the stories that you never would have thought.
Wow,
that they ever would have been there. It makes it so amazing that it's this like very angry old man who can't get over the death of his family from the 1980s.
Wow, that's strong. I kind of love that.
Yeah,
I remember stumbling upon the Brian Michael Bendis Daredevil run after it had finished, and then just bought stacks. I probably have them with one of these shelves. Just bought them all in stacks at Comic-Con. I remember coming home with like this many of them, and just sat for the next few weeks and ripped through them. Woke up every morning. Didn't have a girlfriend at the time. Woke up every morning and just popped open one of those and just got lost in the world that Bendis created. And I remember falling back in love with comics again, doing that. You know, it's all kind of step by step and what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. And now a couple of my patron fans have sent me the Frank Miller Superman.
Oh wow!
And then this the white Batman, Batman Damned from Azzarello. So I want to read that, and then Dark Knight as well.
Nice.
Dark Knight as well. So I'm going to be diving back into those as soon as I have a little bit of time, maybe this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. So I love comics, man. You're never gonna cut it off of my body. It shaped so much of my life, man. I'm sure you feel the same way, Jason. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Brian Brawler. Oh my God, Brian Brawler. Thank you so much. What a very kind donation. Woo! Thank you. What movies have you seen recently, Jason? Rocha, you're welcome. Thank you, Brian. It's very kind. How about the rest of you send in a little bit of that scratch? That would be nice. But anyway, yes, Jason, what have you seen recently, man? What are you into?
You know, I saw New Mutants. I liked it. Okay. I like New Mutants. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why they delayed that movie. I wish they would have let that movie come out when it was really supposed to. I think we would have gotten a New Mutants too, if they had. I loved Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Okay.
I know it's not a perfect movie, but for 2020 and this year, I just loved that there was a movie about positivity and a movie about man, Bill and Ted are just so positive dudes. In the original movies, man, they're never negative.
Yeah.
They get, they're always like positive, and I loved having that like dose of these old two positive dudes coming back. And again, I really like Bill and Ted Face the Music quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna get around to that one for sure. I just finished Mulan today.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, I recorded a review for that one, and I stumbled through that. I hate doing reviews. I need someone else to bounce off. I'm just terrible at doing it solo. So I'm not Dan Morrow, for the love of God. But I would say that, and I would encourage you, Jason, if you enjoy that positivity stuff, I want to encourage you to watch Ted Lasso on Apple TV Plus. Jason Sudeikis does such a fantastic job with that character. It's a positive show. It's a happy show. And it's by Bill Lawrence, who did Scrubs and stuff. So it's great. It's very fun, subtle humor going on in this very real situation that he's confronting. And I can't recommend it. It's 10 episodes. It's a breezy binge. And if you can accept the premise of it being a happy, positive show in the world that's crazy right now, I think people will fall in love with it, man. So that's my recommendation. But I haven't seen New Mutants yet. I haven't seen Tenet yet. I was supposed to when we were down in San Diego this weekend, but to be honest with you, I was out of energy at the end of every day after seeing 7 houses and walking through them and figuring out which one we want to go to. So I didn't have the energy, but I may find time Friday because it's showing close, about an hour away near Anaheim. Tenet is showing, so I may swing over in the morning and catch it then and watch it and let you all know what I think. But Brian Brawler, thank you so much for sending that through. Really appreciate it. Much love to you, man. Let's see what else we got here. We got a couple more from here we go. Haskell 420. Did you like Krypton and Lobo? Season 2 set up a lot, sadly.
I did. Krypton did not deserve to be canceled. Yeah. And I say that by when they first announced the show, I think all of us were like, why are you going to make a prequel about the planet that we know is going to explode?
Yeah, right. We see the ending. We know the ending.
We know where this is going. You're not going to really surprise us.
Right.
And season 1 was great. Season 2 was even better. I actually always thought Krypton, DC Universe or HBO Max should have picked up Krypton season 3 because Sci-Fi has a big problem about canceling shows after 2 seasons, no matter what. Unless they're like mega hits, but I kind of felt that show would have been perfect on DC Universe. So I actually think it was really great. And you can Google Cam Welsh, the showrunner, what he wanted to do for season 3. And man, it would have been an amazing season 3. It was going to be a lot of the Thanagarians, the Hawkmen were going to show up.
Oh, wow.
And then the Omega Men were going to show up. And then there were going to be a lot of hints of the multiverse.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. It's such a shame. Such a shame. I remember meeting those guys when they came to be interviewed for Collider Heroes, and I really enjoyed Cameron and the other gentleman there. I forget his name. The black actor, the older black actor. I forget his name.
Yes, because he's also on Arrow.
Yes,
he's amazing. Colin something. It's Colin something.
Yes.
Anyways,
it's fantastic.
Let me tell you the story about Cameron Cuff.
Oh, please,
this is if you guys haven't cared about Krypton or anything like that, you should watch Krypton simply for the star Cameron Cuff, who plays Segel, who's the grandfather of Superman. And I met him in 2017 at San Diego Comic-Con because I was at one of the parties and I had this tap on my shoulder and I turn around and it's Cameron Cuff. And at the time, I couldn't place him. I was like, he looks so familiar. Why? And he goes, oh, hey, I'm Cameron Cuff. I'm going to be the lead of Krypton. And I was like, boom. I was like, oh, there it is. I've seen your face on a million buses. That's the reason why I know who you are. And he came up to me and he was like, oh, I'm a big fan of DC All Access.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God. And we talked about, he's a real deal nerd. So if you want to see a real deal nerd play a superhero, it's only 2 seasons and spoilers, it does end on a cliffhanger, sadly, but it's still like some amazing comic book storytelling. It was one of the best comic book shows when it was on the air.
I know. I remember it being such a show that people absolutely thoroughly loved, and I think it's 10 episodes per season.
It's 20 it's 20 episodes total.
Yeah.
And
they're around an hour.
Yeah, and I think it's all on DC Universe right now.
Yeah.
And HBO Max. I think it's on both now.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Please, HBO Max, please come on the Roku. What the fuck? Come on. It's driving me nuts. It's driving me out of my goddamn mind. All right, Brian Brawler sent in a little bit more. Thank you, Bryant. What comics are you reading, Jason, if any?
Lately I found myself going back to the stuff that I love. Recently this week, I've been reading, I've been rereading Ultimate Spider-Man, the original Brian Michael Bendis run.
Oh, wow.
Because Comixology had a sale and I just bought them all. And it's really, really great. I'm trying to think about something modern. I'm reading all old stuff right now. The most modern book I'm reading right now is Batman: The Adventures Continues, which is that Paul Dini, Alan Burnett continuation of the animated series. It's really solid. And I'm reading the old 1980s Dan Jurgens Booster Gold because they just released another hardcover. It's so good. The Dan Jurgens run, it's so good.
It's really good. That's another two characters that were great in Justice League International, Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. That relationship throughout the whole Justice League run that DeMatteis did was fantastic.
I cannot believe that we've gone a decade, because I think they announced the Booster Gold movie in like 2010.
Oh yeah.
It is a crime. He is like one of the easiest heroes, I think, to adapt to a movie.
Yeah. You just got to find the right person.
Yep.
Find the right person to play that character, because it's that mix of humor and actual real shit going on that he's trying to hide away from. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure he is. Let's see what we got here. Oh my God, Wayne Edwards, thank you so much. Wow, thank you, Wayne. Happy Star Trek Day to my fellow Star Trek fans. Respect. I love old and new Star Trek alike. Jason, what did you think of season 2 of Discovery? I loved it. And what do you think of Picard? Much love to you both. Okay, well, let's stretch out for this one. I'm going to stretch out for this one because Mance had a lot to say when he was in here, and so did Burnett. So what are your thoughts, Jason, on both of those situations? I'm just going to leave that up so people can read it and maybe get motivated to send in $50 themselves or $100 themselves. But yes, go ahead.
Season 2 of Discovery was much better than season 1. And a lot of that, I think, a lot of that lays on the shoulders of Anson Mount as Captain Pike. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think the overall arc of Discovery season 2 kind of falls apart towards the end. Okay. But there's a certain point where I see the old Enterprise and I see their updates to the old uniforms. And there's a point where I'm like, I'm going to give you the pass. Same with Picard. I think the overall like AI and robot mystery is really good in the beginning, kind of falls apart in the end. But I loved the episode where like he visited Riker. Yeah, I really dug that we got to see Data again. Like the episode with Riker, I thought was the best episode of the entire season, and it kind of made me think that almost the entire season should have just been Picard checking in on old friends. She'd been like, "Here's the LeVar Burton episode. Here's the Will Wheaton episode. Here's the Michael Dorn episode.
Here's the Gates McFadden episode. Yeah,
Gates McFadden episode. I forget the amazing lady who plays Dr. Pulaski. But I will say, I'm really looking forward to Star Trek Strange New Worlds, because for me, Star Trek is not a mystery box show. And I would like to see a modern Star Trek not be a mystery box show, which is a term created by J.J. Abrams, if you don't know. It's the idea of like, we're not really going to explain the plot because it's a mystery. And it's more interesting that you don't know it than you do. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not.
It's not, right. And sometimes you can finish it out and give you a satisfying ending. And sometimes not, aka Lost. Quick question: have you seen Lower Depths? Did you burn through Lower Depths?
I love Lower Decks. I really, really love Lower Decks. Yeah.
Okay, if you like Lower Decks, then I'm gonna watch it. That trailer kind of put me off a little bit.
No. If you are a Star Trek fan, you are going to love Lower Deck.
That means it's funny. Yep. Damn it. Yep. Okay. All right. Damn it. All right. All right. Let's see one more here from Kevin Merton. Hey, Jason, how did you get involved in the Schmoedown? I know you don't like to talk about the Schmoedown much now. You kind of walked away.
I don't like to talk about the Schmoedown. It's just that I've moved. I've been retired for 2 years now.
People still love you, man. They still want you back. Yeah. How did you get involved?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. I kind of think it was just me bothering Christian and being like, can I do one of these? Because I'm pretty good at movie trivia, and he let me do the one with Grey Drake. And and then when I beat her, which nobody expected me to beat her, that was what led to all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Because it was the same with Inner Geekdom, because he wouldn't let me play an Inner Geekdom for the longest time too. And I was like, are you kidding me? You know, everything with the Schmoedown has been, I think there's 3 instances of me being like, Christian, let me do this. And it took him a year to let me do it. And then by the time he let me do it, I was over it. So I didn't stay around.
Which is our loss, because I love you, man. I would love you when you're part of stuff. Let me hit a couple of people coming in live to ask you questions, man, before we finish out with some Streamlabs and Super Chats. Keep sending them in, Streamlabs Super Chats, for the next 20 minutes. We're going to answer them here on the show. Level 2 Trading, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, guys. I don't know if you can hear me properly. Might give it some trouble.
Can you yell?
I can yell, but it's like 20 minutes at 12 p.m. here.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Just I have a cousin who actually serving in the military now. He actually got one of your packages when he was in Afghanistan last year. So, from him, I would like to say thanks for actually doing that service to the military guys. And somebody asked the next question I wanted to ask, which was, what you think about Discovery, because that is my favorite question to ask if John remembers me.
Yeah, I do.
The Orville.
Oh, what do I think about the Orville?
Always, yeah, than Discovery. Well, I think I could guess the answer.
I mean, I like the Orville, man. I really, really like the Orville. It starts out a little shaky, but it really gets. I'm actually really excited for Orville season 3, and I mean, you can tell Seth MacFarlane loves Star Trek, man, and I think he's plugging all of that love into the Orville, and I think it definitely shows.
Yeah, because as a guy who grew up with the next gen, also, I think it brings back Star Trek. Not saying that the Kelvin timeline actually screwed with it, but the TV series kind of doesn't do it for me. Even up to Picard, with the last. The ending of Picard season 1 was mind-bogglingly not there for me. So again, thanks for all your service, and thanks for doing what you do, especially with the Comics Drive. As a guy who doesn't live in your country, I could see where the value of serving within the military to make something better in the world. So
thank you.
Okay, best in the future.
Respect. Guys, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming in, brother.
Thanks, man.
Take care, peace, brother. Oh, very well said. Very well said. I like that. All right, Kyle Hudson, what's up, man? Thanks for waiting, Kyle. What's going down?
Hello. My question was, who is your favorite Legion of Superheroes member?
Oh, that's a great question.
Damn. All right, hold on.
Oh, I gotta think about. Yeah, I mean, there's like 700 of them. So.
Yeah, I mean, like,
you're figuring out.
There's. I mean, the only thing there's more of in the world are John Rocha YouTube shows.
Well said. Well said. I'm not going to deny that. Well said.
Wow. You know, I mean, this is going to show my. I love 2, and I'll give a pass on the first one because it's a kind of a particular. I love Mon-El or Valor because he's sort of tied to the Superman mythos. But if you won't let me take that answer, which is fine, I'll go Cosmic Boy because I love his design. I love his powers, and I think any superhero strong that can wear a pink outfit and make it work.
That's a good question. I love Brainiac 5. I've always been a Brainiac 5 guy, and especially because it was nice to kind of cheer for Brainiac as opposed to be against Brainiac for so many years. So when they made him like so many generations away from the original Brainiac and had him have this relationship with, was it Power Girl or Supergirl, one of the Superman related ladies, and I enjoyed that a lot. I do agree with you on Cosmic Boy. And I always had a weird fascination with Karate Kid because I was like, why do you have a character named Karate Kid in the Legion of Superheroes? I thought it was such an unusual character to have in there, but I was like, sure, man, I'm down. I love it.
Dark Horse has to be Matter Eating Lad.
Oh,
you
remember
that
oh my God.
That can do anything.
Oh my God. I totally forgot about him. Right. And then Saturn Girl. I like Saturn Girl as well. I thought they gave her some nice storylines to play with and some things to overcome and fight through. And so I enjoyed that with her. Oh God, man. Wow. I haven't thought that's dust off that memory. I haven't thought about Legion of Superheroes in such a long time. Thanks, Kyle. What are your favorites, Kyle?
Oh, Censor Girl and Brainiac 5 are probably my 2.
Okay. All right. Why Censor?
Mark Waid's run on Legion of Superheroes is kind of what got me into comics in the first place.
It's a good one. It's my favorite one too.
Even though after he left, it kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
But,
That's usually
but Sensor Girl, at least in the early Waid issues before, later writers messed her up, that character stuck with me back when she was Projectra in the Waid issues. And just in earlier and later iterations, I like her a lot.
Right on. Okay.
But like Brainiac 5, just the awkwardness.
Yeah.
And just kind of this awkward, radically smart person trying to find his way in the world. Just as endless appeal to me.
I remember the first few issues, I kept waiting for him to go bad. I kept waiting for him to like trip into bad and be an evil guy because of Brainiac. Yeah. Huh?
He doesn't start. He's got a good look.
Yes. Yeah. I like it too. Thanks, Kyle. It's good to appreciate the questions. Good to see you, man. Thank you for coming in.
Nice talking. Bye.
Respect. Bye. All right, I love that. Sweet and to the point. All right. The Joker says, hi, Jason and Rocha. Jason, what did you think of Crisis on Infinite Earths on CW? Do you have a favorite cameo? Mine is Tom and Erica from Smallville.
Ooh, that's a great cameo. I mean, honestly, I think, oh man, this is a tough question because there were so many good cameos. I do love the Smallville cameo. And now, like I said, I'm trying to track backwards in the ones. I mean, Brandon Routh's Kingdom Come Superman is pretty genius. I'm gonna say weird one.
Okay.
The Lucifer cameo, because
that was so strange.
The charisma between Constantine and Lucifer was amazing. It should be. It's the devil and Constantine.
Right.
But then the fact that he started flirting with Mia Queen right in front of them all, and like sort of like making jokes about like, who has your soul, love? Like I didn't expect that one to be my favorite, but like Tom Ellis like knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. I have to agree. I think the Smallville one was my favorite. Just seeing Welling again, just seeing him, and he's older and he's a man now, and still wearing the kind of college or high school stuff, the flannel and the long john stuff. But having Lois show up right at the end there was like an awesome moment, and especially because how calm he took care of Lex Luthor, how calm he was in handling his business. I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, he's the only Superman in that entire episode, that entire series, that crossover that punches Lex Luthor.
Yeah. And he's the one without powers. Yep. It's so funny. It's so funny the way it worked out. And I rewatched some of Crisis a couple weeks ago. Yeah, just kind of enjoying it again. I don't know. I just feel like during these times, you need it, man.
It's a solid crossover. In fact, it worries. If I was one of the writers in one of those rooms, I would worry about the next crossover because it'd be like, how do you top it?
Yeah. Well, it's almost like the airplane. It's almost like the hangar fight in Civil War. You're like, my God, all those characters at once, essentially bringing panels of comics that we grew up with to life in that moment. How do you top it? Oh, you have them show up on your left, Cap. Have them all show up through portals.
I'm certain they'll do it. I'm certain they'll do it, and that'll be something very exciting. And again, it's like I'm certain Stephen Amell will come back as Green Arrow somewhere in that universe.
He's got to.
Yeah.
All right, let's run through these Streamlabs real quick. I know we got to get you on out of here, Jason. You've been very kind to stay on so long.
All good.
Tushka's, thank you, brother. Tushka's suggestion says, thank you for joining Outlaw Nation, Jason, not Airborne Inman. So excited to check out.
I don't know where he was no, all love to the gentleman from Oklahoma whose name I forgot, and I apologize.
Tushka,
he was excellent. But I wonder where on the internet was he finding that? I don't know.
Yep. He said, he's so excited to check out your work. Watch Justice League in the pilot episode of Enterprise. We will miss you on the Schmoedown, but hope you come back someday. And I promise to not bring up your DD-214. Oh, good. That's
please, good. Well, I can't really. I don't really want to talk about that because that's a lot of private information. That's right. I'll tell you this. Yeah. If I had the time, I would love to come back to the Schmoedown and call a match, an interview.
Oh, call a match.
Yeah, because I've done it a couple times before. I guarantee you, I can pronounce all of the names. And let's go.
Oh yeah, dude. That's some of the, I feel bad for some of the competitors with the way Christian reads some of those Middle Earth names and some of those other characters.
Some Some of them you have no chance with it, with the way to pronounce the name.
I agree with you 1,000%. Hopefully he'll adjust that in the new season and step away of calling those IG matches. Andrew Hale donated. He said, Inman, just wanted to say you are an IG legend. People forget that you and Hector are the only people to defend the IG belt twice. Lots of misconceptions that has never been defended because it's tough. I always make sure you're included in any IG conversation. Great run.
Thank you. That is very true. I know nobody's beaten that in the 2 years since I've left. And I was hoping to beat Hector, but it didn't happen because Mar was a much better competitor, and that's all. That's totally fine. But thank you.
Respect. Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you sending a donation there. Alan Smithy donated. He said, hey, Rocha, thanks again for having me. Great to meet you, Jason, and good luck with your new mystery project. It sounds big. Can't wait to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty large.
You've been working on it for a year, man. When are you going to be able to say anything about it?
I have no idea. I don't know, man. But I will say this. I know a writer as well, who I will not name, who has worked on a Star Wars television show.
Oh,
and I met them, and they worked on that show in the spring of last year.
Holy crap!
And they are under kind of like an NDA, just like I am. And I've asked them, I'm like, what did you work on? Just to tell me, and they're like, I cannot say. And they're like, all I can say is it hasn't shot yet. And so I'm kind of like, oh, you worked on Kenobi, didn't you? You worked on Kenobi. You worked on Kenobi. And they did that show before our show. So I have no idea. I guess this is just the world we live in with streaming and these companies don't want the secrets to come out. But
has your show been shot? Or are you guys just still writing scripts?
We're still writing scripts.
Okay. So your show's not been shot.
We're still writing scripts. Our production got pushed back right before COVID hit. And so, kind of worked out just for us. But
is there a cast?
There's a couple people in it.
Okay. All right. Does that help you guys when you have a cast as you're writing the scripts? Is I guess what I'm getting at. Understanding who is playing the parts kind of make easier.
You want to know how the actors are going to say the lines. Like you want to know, is this actor a monologue type actor, or is this actor like a one and done pun actor? Like what do they, because you don't want to write a giant monologue for an actor that is not good at monologues.
Right. Fair point.
So like, and also you want to figure out, are they stronger at playing a character soft or mean? And you want to write to that.
Right, of course, right to their strengths. That's great. Brian Brawler sent maybe one last one, and he says, "Oh Jesus Christ!" He said, "Jason, what do you appreciate the most about Rocha?" Look, I did not ask him to say this. I don't know where he sent that from, but the question is, Jason, what do you appreciate the most about Rocha? Please feel free not to answer the question if you don't want to. So
I'll answer it. I appreciate that the man has the stamina to do 472 shows a day. I appreciate that he has my book on his set, which he 100% does not have to do. I appreciate that John is always just straightforward and real, and I also appreciate that it's funny. I was getting ready to ask you in a couple weeks, John, to be like, hey, can I come on a couple of shows and talk about the book? And I appreciate that you beat me to the punch, which is something that I really appreciate. Because I will say it is a thing, and John, you know this very well because you're still in it. And I was in it for a very long time. This sort of pundity internet world and the Schmoedown world, and it's very. I will say, as somebody who has reduced my output from that world, it's very easy for people to just forget you.
Yes.
And you have never forgotten me, which is something that I really appreciate.
How could I ever, man? You're my friend. There's no fucking way. And I hope to have Ashley on in the next few weeks as well to touch base with her, because I haven't talked to Ashley in a long time. But yeah, how could I? No way, Jay. You're one of the first people that I remember the first time I went to Screen Junkies and did a movie fights, and the person on the show remained nameless, but you were so kind to me because I'd never done a show like that. I was super fucking nervous. This was really early on in getting into this sphere, and Christian had called me that morning, and it was 7:55, and woke me up and said, Tiffany Smith can't do movie fights. Can you get over to that studio over there in Beverly Hills in half an hour? And I'm like, holy shit, yes. And I jumped out of bed, took a shower, whatever, got ready, ran over there. And you were the producer on the show, and you were the first person to really receive me warmly and talk to me so kindly. And from there, we just kind of had an easy friendship. So you're always someone I think about. I always think you're too, honestly, and I always think you're too busy to do the things that I ask you to do. And I'm always humbled when you say yes, because it's fun to talk to you.
We should tell. So this is a funny story. There's a little bit behind the scenes here. We should tell the story. So
yes,
a lot of people don't remember that I worked at Screen Junkies for a while. And when I was hired at Screen Junkies, the first week, and the reason why I was hired is because I was a producer of Good Mythical Morning. I worked at Rhett and Link for 4 to 5 years. I helped them create Good Mythical Morning. In the original opening of Good Mythical Morning, you see the hands putting down the breakfast plates. I'm one of the hands. It's me. It's me and Rhett. So because of that, I got hired over at Screen Junkies, and they brought me on at Screen Junkies because they were like, we're thinking about this show called Movie Fights, but we don't quite know how to do it. So they brought me on, and me and Dan Merle really were the ones that like pounded out Movie Fights. And then once we got ready to shoot it, Dan kind of took control and kept going on Honest Trailers, and they gave me Movie Fights. And so I was the one responsible for booking the guests and writing the questions and figuring out like the bonus rounds and all the stuff like that. And very quickly early on, I learned it was really hard to get people to agree to shoot that early on a Friday. Because I think we shot originally like a 10 a.m. or a 9 a.m. originally. It was insane. It was not my choice, but whatever. So very early on, Christian Harloff and Mark Ellis were like my two. If somebody dropped out on me, I called them every time. Yeah. And then that day, Tiffany couldn't do it for some reason. I called Mark, he couldn't do it. I called Christian, and he was like, I can't do it, but I know this guy named John Rocha, and I know he lives 2 blocks away from your studio. And I said, Christian, you've been on the show about 5 or 6 times. You're great. I love you. Can this guy handle it? And he said, yes, he's going to be great. And then you came in, you knocked it out of the park. And I immediately said, well, screw Mark Ellis and Christian Harloff. And you became my default. If somebody couldn't go up, I would just be like, John, are you ready? Come in. And you said yes every time. And I think you came on Movie Fights like, what, 25 times?
I never won once, but it was fun to be on the show and debate and battle. I mean, there's nothing I enjoy more than debating with other people about nerdy shit. So it was always, and movies. So to me, once I got the hang of it, it was so much fun. And it led to great relationships I still have now with Mance, with Kim Horcher, with you, with so many people who were involved in that JTE, so many people that were involved in it. It was a joy of mine to be a part of it and to be welcomed into that family. Monday, Schnapp. Those were my first experiences with those guys being on Movie Fights. So it was a joy to be welcomed in.
That's how I met John Schnapp because I knew about his documentary.
Right.
And I remember I had to convince our producer, the producer who will not be named. I had to convince him to have John Schnapp on the show because I was like, this guy's a cool dude. We got to get him on the show. And I brought him in. I just like the first time I met you. That's how I first met John Schnapp.
Yeah. See? Well, what a shock you had to convince that idiot. All right. Thanks, everybody. It's we got 149 likes. Get us over to 150 likes. There's 187 of y'all watching as we wrap up the show here. Give us some final likes. If you haven't hit that thumbs up button, I got to let my man go. He's got a busy day and a busy night, and I appreciate him taking 2 hours to hang out with us. Jason, please pitch again what you've got going on here that's out now for people to pre-order. I'm going to put up the graphics as you speak about it now.
So my next comic book is Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio. It hits stores, bookstores, and comic stores on October 7th. It's available for pre-order now at your local comic book store, at Walmart.com, at Amazon.com. It's The Rocketeer meets Men in Black. It's young 17-year-old Jackie fighting robots in space with ray guns. It's an all-ages adventure. And it's liked by people like the creator of Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, Ron Mars. So if all that sounds great, go pre-order it now or tell your comic book shop to order it now. And we have a whole episode over on Geek History Lesson talking about the writing of the episode. So if there's no spoilers in it, if that appeals to you too. We are doing a thing I should have mentioned very quickly.
Okay.
We are doing a pre-order prize pack.
Oh, cool.
If you pre-order the book between now and September 15th, which is about a week from now, and you send us your pre-order, you can pre-order it from anywhere, screenshot, a receipt, however you want to do it. Carrier pigeon, send that stuff into Jupiter Jet Comic at gmail.com.
Okay.
We're going to randomly pick one person. You're going to get all kinds of exclusive prints signed by us, signed by me and Ashley. And that random person is only one winner. Will have a comic book character named after them in Jupiter Jet Volume 3.
Wow.
So you will be named a comic book character, and this character will be an important part of the Jupiter Jet world going forward.
Wow.
So pre-order the book in the next week if you want to be entered in that.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Oh, and one last relationship I got out of Screen Junkies. That's right. Dan Murrow. That's right. That's right. Dan Murrow and I met through there as well. Yeah, guys, go and pre-order Jupiter Jet. I'm probably going to pre-order it right now as soon as the show is over, and get into that prize pack. You might get to be a character on that comic book, and it's incredible stuff. Incredible stuff that him and Ashley are creating, and they work so hard to build this up, and then always at the conventions promoting it, selling it, all of that. So they believe in it with their heart and soul. So give it a chance. And if you enjoy Jason over these last 2 hours, imagine him writing incredible work with Ashley Victoria Robinson for you all to enjoy, and great artwork as well in that comic book. So a lot for you all to enjoy. So give it a chance. Support people. It's like say support locally, support your local store. Supporting Jason Inman is just as important as supporting Brian Michael Bendis or any of your favorite comic book writers. Give them some love. So, Jason, thanks so much for being on the Outlaw Nation show, man. I can't thank you enough. It's always a blast. Tell people what else you got going on and where they can follow you, my man.
Oh, thank you, John. It was such a pleasure. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Jawin. It's down there on the screen, Jawin. It stands for Jason William Inman, first 2 letters. And the other thing you can find me on is a weekly podcast called Geek History Lesson, where we examine a character, a construct, or a book in a little bit less than an hour. We have 350 episodes, and all our episodes are evergreen and they're fun. John has been on there a couple times. In fact, go Google for the fun episode where John Rocha comes on our show voicing Wolverine. It is a blast, and it's actually we've actually had people request that. They're like, "Are you going to have John Rocha back as Wolverine?" And we're always like, "If we have the time."
Anytime you want, man. I love doing that episode as Doctor Strange is analyzing me. It was fantastic. I loved doing that.
Thank you so much, John, for having me, and thanks to everybody in the Outlaw Nation for watching.
There you go. All right, let's let Jason go so he could go on with the rest of his night, and I'll say goodbye to everybody separately. Thanks, Jason. Much love. Feel free to click off. It was always good to see you, man.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Always a pleasure.
Continue to give my best to Ashley, please.
Will do, sir.
Respect. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The awesome Jason Inman joining me here. He was so fantastic tonight for a couple of hours. Hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you so much for the donations, for the Streamlabs, for the super chats. You guys make the Outlaw Nation work. You guys and you gals make the Outlaw Nation work, make the Outlaw Nation happen. And we're building slowly but surely. We're about to cross 14,000 subscribers. There was a little bit of a stop around the 13,500 mark, and we've been building for the last few weeks consistently. And the views have gone up on the channel with all the shows, and the donations have gone up. So slowly but surely things are happening. Come over to my Patreon as well if you haven't subscribed to that. The Patreon, I have hangouts twice a week now. As it was announced today on Schmoedown Backstage, Dan Murrow and I, as the founding fathers, are entering into the Schmoedown Teams tournament. I will be training with my patrons every day, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, whenever I can find time. You as my patrons will be able to train with me and train me for this match, for these matches coming up. Hopefully matches coming up in the Schmoedown. Also, I have the first round match against Adam Collins coming up. So come aboard the Outlaw Nation Patreon train and get involved with that. Also, I do 4 separate shows for the patrons that have kind of taken a little bit of backseat, as I had a lot to prepare for with Ethan, the tag team tournament. Ethan, the tag team championships, and the singles match that's coming up soon. So I was like kind of putting stuff to the back burner there, but now the patron shows are going to be ramping back up again for people to enjoy. If you're a patron, you get it early, and you get to participate in the patron shows as well. Ask the Outlaw. A Criterion Corner, you get to vote on a Criterion film for me to take a look at and review and give you my feelings about the disc and all the special features on the disc. We have the debate show, the OK Corral, where 2 of my patron members go at it about a certain subject or geek thing, battle over 3 questions. And then we have another show called The Outlaw Rides Again, where one of my patrons gets to revisit a Schmoedown match with me. We talk about it what was going on before, watch the whole thing, go, and then afterwards talk about it and the reactions to everything. So those are the perks you get to have on the Outlaw Nation Patreon and more. And if you suggest other perks, be part of that as well. Plus, the Outlaw Nation Patreon is an awesome crew. Come and join our Discord as well. Go and find the Outlaw Nation Discord as well. Great people manning that thing. Cheryl, Andrew Hale, Sean Barreto, Wiley Todd, so many great people involved in it and had great conversations there. Some of the people you saw tonight are on there. And we when we do our hangouts, which I do twice a week, we have a great time just catching up with each other and talking about everything geek, talking about our lives, talking about the world. It's such a fun time. So please come be a part of that as well and get me, to a really good position Patreon wise. So this can become something that I do full time, only this, and that's what I'm trying to get to and create this as my life. So thank you all so much for those of you who come aboard the Outlaw Nation and join the Outlaw Nation. Please recruit other people to come aboard the Outlaw Nation and have some fun with us as well. The way you do that is to share this video on your social media, share all my videos on your social media, kind of encourage people to come aboard, maybe because you like the video or you share the video. Someone who trusts your opinion will watch the video and maybe take a chance to come aboard and join the nation as well. Another way you do that, please, is always to hit a like on any of the videos and leave a comment on any of the videos, even if it's as simple as, this was great, thanks for doing this, or I had a great time, or I had an issue with this. Any comments you want to leave would be great, because the more comments, the more likes you leave, it elevates the visibility of a show or an episode, then puts it on the suggestion side, the suggestion feed they have there, and maybe someone will click on it and enjoy the show as well. All right, that's everything from me. Thank you all so much. Please follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. If you haven't followed me, then don't forget that we dropped our new episode of the top 10 this morning, the top 10 films that have happened over a 24-hour period. Top 10 films that have happened over a 24-hour period. Matt Nose and I, that is on the podcast feed. Anywhere you download the top 10, that is on the podcast feed as well. We did the new sports time. That's up there for you all to watch and enjoy. That was yesterday. That is up there for you to watch and enjoy as well. And is there anything else? Oh, yeah, coming up this week, Laura Kelly and I are back with a brand new episode of The Jedi Way, a full episode of The Jedi Way. We're going to be talking about the concept of courage in the Star Wars universe. Who's your most courageous character? What does courage symbolize in the Star Wars universe? And have there been any villains who are courageous in the Star Wars universe? So all of that we're exploring on another episode of The Jedi Way. We just recently did a special episode Laura Kelly and I did on the John Boyega interview in British GQ. We dropped that on Saturday. It's gotten over 3,000 views. I hope you all will get a chance to watch that and listen to our conversation. Really enjoy talking with Laura about so much with Star Wars. And one last thing to promote, Impolite Truths. We are now going weekly, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. every Thursday night. Come and join Doreen and I live as we head into the election. We feel like it's the right time to make this show weekly and talk about everything that's happening through the week in the world of politics. And we don't spare either side. Don't spare either side in our analysis and our approach to the world of politics. So come and get aboard that train as well. All right. And I think that's it. From me here, much love to all of you. Take care of yourselves, and I'll end the show like I end every show, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Please, whatever you need to do to get through the next second, next minute, next hour, next day, next week, next month, next year, please find your way to do that. Nowadays, it's really tough. I know depression, mental health, panic attacks, anxiety, all of that is really predominant in our world. People are afraid. People are worried. People are struggling. Please do the things that you need to do to get yourself in a good frame of mind. Is it listening to music? Is it eating a piece of chocolate? Is it meditation? Is it listening to music or watching a show that you remember that you loved or a movie that you loved? Is it listening to a record? Is it reading a comic book all over again? Is it just rediscovering something new to take your mind off it? Whatever it is, please find your way to do that. I love you being a part of the Outlaw Nation. And I'd like you to remain a part of the Outlaw Nation and come forward with us. So please stay around for yourself and stay around for us and reach out if you need anything. We're always here. All right. Much love to all of you. Please tweet at Jason how much you enjoyed him being on the show. And we'll talk to you next week with a brand new episode of the Outlaw Nation. Much love to all of you. Until then, take care.